And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, 365 Sports in the studio that we walked into after we came back from Super Bowl, 60? And enlarged area, knocked down a wall, put this new studio in, and still some work to do, but we appreciate your time. Paul back with us tomorrow. He was in Lawrence, Kansas last night. And in fact, Brandon, go ahead. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, 365 Sports, and show the video. Paul sent this to me just a little bit ago. He and Amanda and her brother and his wife were all at the game in what was a resounding Kansas victory against Houston that set and continued some streaks, and in some other cases, it knocked them back a little bit. You got Brandon? You got it? Here we go. Just a beautiful, beautiful scene. Obviously, KU colors, packed house, Allen Fieldhouse, unbelievable, and KU wins the game. Tonight, Baylor in Arizona at the Foster Pavilion. More on that in a minute, but a lot to get to, Craig. Dominant performance, a streak at the end of the first half by KU, and then they just really kind of, after that, controlled the game. And Houston now loses 3 straight, and KU still has that ridiculous streak of never losing. Bill Self at home at Allen Fieldhouse in an ESPN Big Monday game.
Yeah, pretty incredible. I mean, they're Kansas for a reason, and it's because of streaks and accomplishments like that. So, really deserving of a graphic, unlike a lot of other things that just get graphics because graphics are everywhere for every single little bitty thing. This is one where you actually stop and you go like, oh, yeah, that's worthy of kind of stopping down on and going, let's take a moment to appreciate and acknowledge that 41-0. So, really incredible mark for Bill Self and Kansas basketball, and a really nice win for them against the Cougs, who, are sliding right now and who have now cost themselves a shot at the Big 12 title in doing so. And so I think that's something that comes out of last night that affects everybody is, now Houston's been knocked down a peg, and it looks like we're going to crown a new champion this year after they walked into the league and just started pretty much winning right out of the gates. And so that's exciting for those involved. And for Houston, I think the schedule just ramped up. I mean, there's clearly some things that they need to work on, but I think the saving grace in this is the fact that, look at who you're losing to. It's not like you're dropping games to Colorado and Oak State and Baylor. You're dropping games to all of the top-ranked teams in the conference. It just so happened the schedule played out to where that's who you've got in front of you. So, it's a real bummer for them, and to be on a slide like this is not something that they're accustomed to by any means, but a really nice effort from Kansas, really good bounce back for them. Looked like a hell of an atmosphere as well, so looking forward to Paul being back and telling us about how the experience was, even though I know it's not his first time there. It looked like a great scene and clearly was a great win for the Jayhawks.
He sent me a picture of Amanda on the plane flight back, and she was on some sort of, a device watching and breaking down film, where she will send that, I'm sure, to Bill Self at some particular time. So, Kelvin Sampson, you mentioned this. Houston, Jayhawks are now 14-2 this year alone. 14-2 inside Allen Fieldhouse, including this year, with Bill Self as the head coach against top 5 teams. Not just the 41-0 Big Monday, but 14-2 against top 5 teams. They have now defeated 3 top 5 opponents at home in the same season: Arizona, Iowa State, and Houston for the first time since 2011-2012. And Kelvin Sampson's first 3-game losing streak in 9 years. As you said, they have set the standard even when they joined the Big 12 after the American Conference. And they had a bad night shooting. The statistics last night with their guards, they just weren't very good shooting the basketball. Emmanuel Sharp was 1 of 10. Uzan scored 7 points. 5 of 24 shooting threes for Houston. It eventually wore them down, and KU gets a very nice win. After the game, Bill Self appeared on ESPN to discuss the win for the Jayhawks.
Well, I think our guys have gotten so much better since the start, and even playing without DP so much, I think in many ways it's forced our other guys to grow up. So our ceiling is still well in front of us. I mean, there's a lot of great teams out there that are playing really well, and they can still improve and get better. But I think we got a big gap that we can get better. We just got to get everybody healthy and on the same page and get 2 or 3 weeks together.
And then there's one tweet, and Craig, you please follow it up. This comes from a basketball writer about KU. They're up and they're down. This is the quote. What about KU, huh? You just don't know who they are from game to game. Kyle Tucker with that particular nugget after the game. As good as it looks like their ceiling could be Final Four national championship, and yet they could also be a first weekend and out team based on how they play a lot of Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a bit more from a tweet, but he's right. I mean, it didn't need to say more than, yeah, how about KU, huh? I mean, like, yeah, how about them? They are a really good program, and they're KU for a reason, right? I mean, we don't sit there and put them on this pedestal above most other teams when we talk historically or even present day for just a coin flip. It's because they've won a lot of games and a lot of titles and have had a lot of great players. And so, yeah, they're KU. They're expected to be in this mix. It would be a bigger story if they weren't. But I do think that they deserve a lot of credit for having navigated what's been some tumultuous waters. And I don't know that every coach would have been able to successfully deflect or defend his guy and kind of shield them. If other programs were dealing with a Darian Peterson-like situation, maybe a coach isn't able to remain as collected and kind of calm and even keeled about it as Self was, even though clearly there were some frustrations for him in some regard. But they're dealing with that. That could be outside noise that could distract or hurt other teams, and maybe it has hurt them, and I think it probably has at times hurt them to some extent. But, yeah, when they've needed to answer the call, they have, and here they are, and they're in the mix. And after all this hand-wringing and bitching and moaning and complaining and whatever else has been in the headlines about Darren Peterson or about what Bill Self should be doing or what he's not doing or whatever, here they are, and they could win a bunch more games the rest of this season and win some titles and collect some more trophies along the way to add to their very crowded trophy case. So, give me KU's problems any day because it's still a basketball powerhouse, and, they proved that again last night, and that was a scene for a school that you would think of as a basketball powerhouse with just the crowd, the electricity, the feel in the air of this being two pretty colossal teams going and doing battle. And, yeah, they just took it over in the second half and got some nice performances. And it wasn't about Darren Peterson solely. It was about Trey White and other guys like that. And then Houston just didn't play their best game. And I think they've ran into this tough portion of their schedule that if you ask Houston fans before the season of, like, where could we trip up? Where could be a stretch where we lose the Big 12 title? Where could be a stretch where we slip in the standings? Where could be a stretch where we lose maybe 3 in a row for the first time in forever and ever? It's an unthought of thing, but where could that happen? It would be right where it just happened. It would be right there on that schedule, these last 3 games that they've played. So I think it's still a bit stunning just because Houston's not used to losing 3 games in a row, but it's not completely shocking by any means.
No,
and the good news for them is they play the teams that I rattled off unintentionally when I was saying, look at who Houston has played, and then I rattled off 3 teams just off the top of my head where I said, well, it's not like they're playing Colorado, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. I think that's what I said, right?
Yep.
Where those 3 guess who the remaining teams are?
Colorado, Baylor, and Oklahoma State.
Baylor and Oklahoma State. That was totally unintentional. Maybe I just remembered reading that a few days ago or something. But, yeah, that's who they actually play to close out the year. So they'll get back to winning. And they'll be still very dangerous in the tournament, both the conference and the national. But, yeah, I do think they got to look in the mirror a little bit and got to lick their wounds. And I don't think that they'll be too downtrodden to not be able to recover from this. I think they'll get their bearings back and get back to winning basketball in short order. But for Kansas, that was a really great win that they really needed, and it puts them firmly in the mix now moving forward with very little time to play.
Houston just lost to number 6. To number 14, and right before that, number 4. And KU will be back inside the top 10 after the week they've had, despite the loss to Cincinnati on Saturday. Now, I
want to say this, though. I mean, that's 5 ranked games that they've played in the last few weeks, and they're 1-4. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit concerning if you're Houston. I mean, you lost to Texas Tech, who was number 12 at the time. You beat BYU. Who was number 16, and then you've now lost 6, 4, and 14. So, I mean, hell, man, you played 5 borderline top 15, or actually like 6 if you go all the way back to Tech, but they played like 5 top 15-ish teams because BYU was at 16, And, yeah, they're 1-4 in those last 5 games against ranked opponents. So, and then including the 3 straight. But again, it's 6-4 and 14. So how much hand-wringing, I guess, depends on your personality and your overall level of concern. I think there is a reason for concern. But I also think there's plenty of reason for optimism as well.
Yeah, they're 4-5 against top 25 teams, but three in a row they just dropped. And the one at home against Arizona stings a little bit because it's at home. But losing in Ames and losing in Lawrence, that happens. And now, as you mentioned, Colorado, Baylor, and then at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean,
here are a couple of quotes from the players. Go ahead.
That's the thing is, if you were to say, if they had won their last couple games, they roll into Lawrence and lose, would you have blinked an eye at that?
Nope.
It's just that they've lost 3 in a row. Like, that's the part where you're like, oh, damn, that's abnormal for them. But, yeah, going to Lawrence, Kansas, and losing a basketball game, that's what most people do, as that Bill Self graphic reflects. So go on to
split with Texas Tech, winning, remember, at home against them, but losing to Texas Tech earlier in the year. They came back to they won against Tech early and then lost in Lubbock. Darren Peterson putting up the stats, and you look at the box score and all of what we saw last night as far as the game. We haven't heard much from him. Obviously, there was even some that said, well, it'd be nice if he was a little bit more out or accessible. His quote after the game, he didn't win the game. He played really nice, played much better, played longer than most of the games he's played, 30 minutes. It was electric in there today. Part of the reason why we came to KU was to play in this environment. Just a great win coming off Cincinnati, which, of course, they blew a tire. It was big for us for sure. Trey White, who led the way with 23 points, said, when asked about Darren Peterson and some of the discussion, we tell him all the time, we're with you. We're your brothers. We understand what the outside world is saying, but we don't care about any of that. It's inside of the locker room. And again, White scored 23, Peterson in double figures too, and KU gets the win at home.
Well, that doesn't satisfy me because I want there to be drama. No, I think that Kansas is handling the Darren Peterson situation as best they see fit. We've commented on it. I definitely have felt like there's something kind of weird. I think I said the word fishy, not like there's some conspiracy, but just like, yeah, something seems a little bit off with the situation. But I've also then defaulted to but if it's not bothering his teammates and it's not bothering his coach, then what the hell does it matter to me?
Yep.
Like, hell, if it doesn't bother Bill Self, then why the hell do I care? And I know because you're fans or we're fans or whatever, but, yeah, my perspective has been, yeah, it doesn't seem like this is probably the way they drew it up or the way that they would like it to be, but it is the way that it is, and they're best managing that the way they know how, and look at where they are. They just beat Houston, and they're in the mix for a Big 12 title again. And they're going to be in the tournament and be a high seed and all these different things. So, yeah, like I said, I think on Friday, what are we all going to say if they turn around and they win the Big 12? So all this, oh, my God, Darren Peterson, and they just go win the title still. So what did it really matter if it didn't matter in the standings? I think Bill Self knows better than anybody what the situation is. And so he's handling it how he sees fit, and I would be content with that if I was a Kansas fan. I would also, if I was watching every single minute of every single game from the very first exhibition and was obsessed with it like some people are, then I'm sure you get kind of caught up into it, and you see every little moment of it. So maybe you have a little bit of a different perspective or frustration when it comes to that, but it's working still. So, I mean, it's not ideal, but it's working. And you know what? He's not the only player on that team that's capable of winning you a basketball game. So we've found that out. And I think so long as you keep him in the mix and focused and as healthy as he needs to be, then just makes them that much more dangerous.
Well, one of the things I saw last night, it was a small clip. It was Peterson hit a three, and as he's backing up to cross back the other way to play defense, it's kind of like he had a little bit of a conversation, just kind of a look to Bill Self, and Self did this, like, stay in the game. Come on, stay in the game. And I think he checked out soon after that, but it's part of learning each other as they hit the stretch drive. But he was good last night. He was really good last night with the 14 points in 30 minutes. 4 players for KU, Badunga, Tiller, and Council, also Darren Peterson, all played 30 minutes in that game.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that's the fishy part of, like, okay, what is going on? Like, something's clearly going on.
I think, you know what I think, Craig? I do think we've seen it with Self. he's learning this too. He's never had the problem. He's had to deal with some drama over the time, but here's a very incredibly talented player. They can win with him and they can win without him. And I think what he's trying to do is minimize some of the outside noise, which Peterson has said. He even said this yesterday when we had a quote from him. He doesn't listen to that. He's smart. But I think Self is learning you could do it in a way that's not like pounding him in the head or,
right,
like hammering him like some coaches would do. He's trying to help the young man grow up and trying to help it, make it a little bit, not giving in to him, but making it easier for him.
I think in some ways you're having to give in, but you're also dealing with a grown adult who's making millions of dollars, I would imagine, or close to that. And so it's a little bit of a different relationship than you would have had years ago. So that's the new normal. And when you have superstar players, you could probably ride them a little harder back in the day, and you do that now, and it's a whole different ball game. Because I think a guy like him who's already prone to probably checking himself out more often than any other player in the country, I think if you go raging fire, screaming in face, that probably doesn't go well for Darren Peterson, right? He probably wilts and suddenly has an injury where he can't return. That just – based on how they're kind of kid-gloving this thing in some ways or being as careful as they are with how they're talking about it. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a thing until the season's over with and he's no longer on the roster. We'll see how they continue to manage it, but they managed it just fine last night. They shot really well. They got performances from all over. Were great on the boards and had an incredible crowd behind them. And I'll tell you, we briefly mentioned Oklahoma State wrestling. I think you're doing a Big 12 bucket list. Trademark. I'm going to make that a segment at some point. So
Big 12 bucket list?
Yeah, Big 12 bucket list. I'm going to copyright that right now. We're going to make that a segment at some point. But I'm going to tell you already a couple of the entries on there. I think KU Allen Fieldhouse for a basketball game like last night's got to be
hell yeah,
up there. But Oklahoma State wrestling for that Iowa meet, that would have been right there near the – that might have been my number one, actually. But then last night was pretty cool as well. So those are a couple of entries we can have on there. I will get to that. If you see somebody put out that content before we do – it wasn't because it was their idea
Sue
first.
Their ass. Yeah.
It wasn't their idea first because you heard it here. But, yeah, I think those two atmospheres over the weekend and then last night, it got me thinking about, like, man, if I could just go take trips willy-nilly however I wanted to. I was like, that would have been cool to be in Stillwater for that wrestling meet. That would have been badass to be in Lawrence for that basketball game. It'd be cool to be in Provo for that Saturday night, late kickoff versus – name the team.
Let me tell you something about Provo. Look up pictures of their baseball field in the backdrop at BYU.
Like
everything's
got a mountain.
Stunning. Yeah,
everything's got a mountain in the backdrop. Yeah, it's beautiful. But no, that was a really nice win. And then for Houston, yeah, they've got to feel like they were not nearly good enough last night, and they haven't been good enough here lately to be the elite team that they want to be, as has been proven by the fact that they have lost to three teams who very well could go just as far as they do in the tournament.
We will have today as one of our guests Chancellor Johnson. He does a lot of content for the Big 12. He covered basketball media days and is involved heavy with covering the Big 12. He's going to join us today at 4 o'clock. John McClain today at 5. So Houston's guards, again, were 5 of 24 shooting threes, not shooting them very well. They lost the turnover battle. They actually won the turnover battle and were beaten by 5 points, 5 boards on the glass, too. Kelvin Sampson, this guy's amazing. Bill Self, after the game, was asked about Sampson. He would have said the same thing had KU lost by 20. This is all behind us now. We lick our wounds. We haven't been through anything like this because we've been the winningest program in America for many years. This is a great life lesson for everybody. When we play these good teams, you've got to keep getting a little bit better. He also went on to say, I don't know if anybody had to play 3 straight games like this. Disappointed we lost, but I am not disappointed in our effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they just ran into a real gauntlet, and I think he may have even used the term ran out of gas at one point, and I could see where that, all adds up. And after playing 3 top 10-ish level teams back to back to back in a short amount of time, I could see where that really wears on you, and you need a bit of a break. So I think they'll get that with the schedule opening up the way that it does. I don't think they can just roll over and win the next 3 games, but I don't think they're far off from being able to do that either. Honestly, I mean, I don't want to – I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Baylor, Colorado, or Oklahoma State. They're going to have to lace them up and go play. But I just think, clearly I'm going to take Houston to win all 3 of those games, and I don't feel like they have to play their A-plus game to be able to do that. So they'll have their chance to rebound. And I do think, they're probably worn the F out after this stretch because they've played 3 teams that they could very well see in the Final Four. They're that level of competition, and they're back-to-back-to-back. And in the case of obviously last night, the most recent being on the road as well. So, and then they were at Ames before that, right? So 2 of these last 3 have been on the road. So, they're probably a bit spent and can use a recharge. And good news for them is they played last night, and they don't play till Saturday. So they're going to have a little bit of time to try to get those batteries right.
Scheduled tonight. Cincinnati plays in Lubbock against 16th-ranked Tech. Oklahoma State at home against West Virginia. Iowa State at Utah, number 4 Cyclones. Arizona State at TCU, and TCU's fighting to be a part of that tournament right now, just inside with Joe Lunardi and bracketology, as is UCF. And they're playing tonight in Provo against number 19 BYU. And tonight, about a mile from here, number 2 Arizona, 2 games in front now in the regular season Big 12 standings, playing at Baylor. We know what kind of a year it's been for Scott Drew and the Bears. They're just a notch above 500 after the win against Arizona State. He was asked about revamping, redeveloping, or whatever he's going to do with getting his roster where he needs it to be. This is for a guy that's had a bad year, considering their standard for a decade plus, he had a great sense of humor.
When does the thinking of roster reconstruction start for next year? Have you thought about that at all and like what that might look like, obviously given what happened this year when you had to replace everybody?
Yeah, well, 100%. I'll be honest, probably after the first scrimmage or exhibition game anybody plays, agents are on the phone calling. So somebody didn't start, didn't get shots. I mean, so it's a never-ending thing, recruiting. My dad always said, recruiting's like shaving. You miss a day, you look like a bum. So, I mean, that's something you're thinking about year round. And some people look worse than others, huh? But no, that's and especially during where there's been so much change in college basketball with the landscape rules and whatnot. People are always trying to find out, what'd you learn? What can you adapt, change, make sure you're not in the same position next year.
That's Scott Drew with still a sense of humor, although down deep inside he's struggling but they did get the win. It came back in the second half to beat Arizona State. I think it was the first time this year that they trailed at halftime and won against Hurley and also the Sun Devils. Tomorrow night, K-State at Colorado. Saturday, Craig brought this one up. It is KU at Arizona and Texas Tech in Ames against Iowa State. So a couple of more bangers happening before the end of the week in the Big 12. So there we are with that. Evan Miyakawa is going to join us, I think, sometime next week on the show with his all of his analytics. Here is a map. I have it in my hand. College basketball's predicted efficiency landscape. Here are the teams who he has as title favorites. Now, there you can see it. It's kind of small. Craig, I thought I may have made one for you, but maybe you have it. But if you look at the top right-hand corner, that triangle, these are teams on the line or above it that are title contenders. You see Illinois, you see Purdue, and then you see Florida, who's won like 7 or so straight, the defending champions, Houston, Arizona, Duke, and Michigan. Right below that is UConn. And then right below them, you see what you see right there with Iowa State still kind of hanging around. There's a bunch of other teams on the next line, all the way down, hit and miss, happy to be here, etc. So there's still a nice chunk of teams that he has, based on the games through last night, as predicted efficiency landscape to win the championship in men's basketball.
That's all well and good. I am not a big analytics guy, especially when it comes to basketball. But Evans, if you're into that sort of thing, as good as it gets. And I almost feel like he must watch basketball, and it's just like looking at the Matrix where it's just all these numbers, because it's like, do you even watch the sport, or does the computer just kind of spit out on the other side of whatever you input, like who's going to win each game? And he's got these predictive odds that are pretty much on the money regularly, and rankings that are very well respected, and he's a really smart dude that's put together a hell of a website. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how to break down a lot of the stuff he does, because it's just not my the way my brain works necessarily, but I can see what charts look like, and that's really well put together. I do know I'm kind of basing this off of I just see the extreme nerdiness, and I mean that complimentary, to which basketball fans dive into bracketology and all of these different metrics, and Evan's like crack for these people. I mean, he really is with what he puts out, and so it's a great relationship, Evan and the numbers people in college basketball. I can't really see that to say too much about it, nor would I really know how to break it down. But I'll entrust that Evan's got some really good stuff out there, especially if you love numbers. I don't know how you're not following him. I'm sure you are.
Yeah, and then there's, of course, down at the very bottom, there's a bunch of teams just stacked all over each other. But many still alive based on Evan. He'll join us at some point next week. We have to now call him and get on his schedule a couple of weeks in advance. Remember, when he was at Baylor, he came on with us all the time. He's done it. He's become a very popular follow on X.
I mean, he was invited to the mock competition bracket committee thing they did last week at NCAA headquarters. That's where Evan was. So, yeah, he's a consultant for a lot of teams out there that use his stuff, and just a brilliant young dude who's probably would have been in – I mean, I don't remember what his major was. It was in this same vein, though, of like analytics and things, if I recall correctly. And I'm sure he could have gone out and been any number of things, from a banker to a whatever. He could have been probably whatever he wanted to. And good for him that he found something that he loved to combine with his passion. And so, yeah, the numbers guy in college basketball, and there's a lot of others that do similar types of things, but he's really taken it to an insanely high level in a very short amount of time. So I'm not real into that, like I said, but I know that if I was, that would be like my bookmarked homepage probably this time of year would be Evan Miyakawa's site.
It is. I put up a link to his feed, and about every 3 days, especially after Tuesday, and then again Saturday night late, or maybe Sunday, it'll pop up in my calendar, and I'll click on it, and they'll give me, just to remind me in case I hadn't glanced at it or had not been in my feed or my timeline prior to that. Colin Klein, the head coach at K-State, former great, the quarterback. Man, they had a hell of a team, and under Bill Snyder. He then has his career at A&M as a play caller with the Aggies, now the head coach at Kansas State. And he was asked about whether or not he was going to call plays. And there you see the tweet on the left-hand side. He said that he really at times struggled with this, but feels like that's something I spent a lot of time thinking about. It wasn't a no-brainer decision by any stretch. The package that we have put together, and that has been part of the last 4 years, is really elite. I think it puts a lot of pressure on defenses. I think we have a ton of flexibility. I think our ability to put pressure on the defensive coordinators is what we do and what we do is special. So he actually thought about this, about giving up the play calling, at least discussed it. His assistants and other coordinators will be very heavily involved, but he will call the plays. And I don't think I ever expected him not to, at least right off the top, with now his alma mater at K-State.
Yeah, I think that's just the logical place to start is if you're a known play caller and that's part of your calling card and part of why Kansas State wanted to hire you outside of the obvious, well, you're the alum and you're a no-brainer type of a fit of, but why are you good as a coach? And, yeah, it's his offensive schemes and play calling and those things. That's why he rose to be the candidate that he became this last cycle, and had Kansas State not plucked him up, then somebody else would have. And if it didn't happen this past offseason by choice, then it was going to happen next offseason, but it was bound to happen. So, yeah, that's how he made his mark. And I think it's much easier to start off doing what you've been doing and then say, all right, this isn't working. 2-3 years later, let me hand it off to somebody in-house or somebody that I hire from the outside and bring in, and they can call the plays to take some of this off my plate. I don't think you start by not doing it and then you take it back. I think we've seen, like with Dave Aranda, how that can work. It gets kind of ugly and twisted because now you're like reverting back to now it's almost like you're pulling the emergency card. Oh, shoot, now I got to go call plays on defense because if I don't, then we're screwed, and that's not a fun place to be in, especially when the defense doesn't really even get any better. So, yeah, I'd go ahead and start off by calling plays, and then if it doesn't vibe well, then, yeah, hand them off to somebody else. I'm sure he's got no shortage of young coaches that can call plays or being groomed to do so. And then if it works, then great. Or if it works and you just get tired of it and you want to hand it off, great. But, yeah, I think not doing it and then, oh, crap, I better go take the reins 3/4 of the way through the season, that's just like a red flag. That you're like, oh, no. So this is the better way to handle it, I believe, at least at the beginning.
You want the message to be the same message. You don't want it to change, barring some sort of chaotic or bad stretch of football. He said, I was really struggling with letting it go because I enjoy it. I also think as we get off the ground here with a lot of new faces, this is the best way to make sure we are getting things right, and done the right way. Exactly how I envisioned it. Leading the offense is important to me, and I'm excited about it as we move into spring.
Yeah, like I said, it's why he got hired, outside of the fact that he played there. But he got hired. If he was Colin Klein from Montana State University, but K-State needed a football coach, good chance they might have still hired him if his path was exactly the same. He just wouldn't have had the Wildcat calling card, right? So, yeah, go with what you're good at, especially if you're still enjoying it, which apparently he is. So, yeah, you're the head coach. You call the shots, and if you like calling the plays, call the plays, and it's much easier to hand off later on than have to go and grab back in a far less messier situation potentially.
Someone asked him about, okay, say he's practicing, the scrimmaging, the offense against the defense. He's the head coach. He runs the entire program, everybody, both sides of the ball, special teams. And if the offense makes a big play, does he celebrate? No one's ever asked me that before. Never. But as I think about it, heck yeah, I'm going to celebrate. We're going to try to score a lot of points, but I'm also about stopping people. So that's, of course, in games too, as much as it is against each other.
I get that question, but yeah, I think you just celebrate whoever's making the best play, right? So if the defense picks it off, then yeah, you're a little bummed that your quarterback threw a pick, but you're hyped for the defense. I guess it depends on, has he got his OC whistle on or does he have his head coaching whistle on?
Well, that's what I'm saying. In a
Yeah.
scrimmage, he's going to be the offensive coordinator, but he also is overviewing
okay,
in a game. Absolutely,
Yeah,
you're going to be thrilled for either side if they make a big play.
I get what you're saying now. So, I mean, yeah, I think you you just handle that with a little bit of balance is what you do with that. But, yeah, he's far from the first coach to try and handle multiple duties of both play calling on either side of the ball and also the head coaching role. And good luck to him in doing that. It often becomes too much of a weight for some guys, and they have to pass that off because they're either not as good as they need to be at it or it is too much of a distraction when they've got to deal with a lot of other things. So we'll see how he handles it, and maybe he's the next great head coach / offensive play caller, and he's that for the next few years and gets a lot of love for that. Or maybe we see him in a year or two go, yeah, I need to just focus on being on the sidelines and not calling plays offensively. But we'll at least see what it looks like with him in charge, and that's why you hired him again. So I'm excited about what Kansas State's got coming up as far as changes this year, and I think it's a fresh coat of paint that was much needed, just given kind of how 2 years ago ended and just the feel of really all of last year was just strange, and we now know why. And so I think it's exciting for Kansas State to have a new start and somebody who they admired and loved so much to be the guy to help spearhead that. I think it makes it even more exciting.
Hey, yeah, no question, because we saw what happened at Oklahoma State. They started sliding, they couldn't stop. We saw a couple of years in a row Baylor had that. We saw what happened to Utah in 2024. We've seen teams that have just they can't stop the bleeding, and K-State was just disappointing because of the expectations. And then Chris Kleiman, and he's no longer there, and Colin Klein, the hero, and one of the stars in K-State history, trying to get them back on track. Let's take a break right here, Brandon. We'll come back. TCU and what they're going to wear when they play in Dublin, Ireland. Plus, the NCAA is flapping their lips again about trying to crack down on things like tampering. We'll have that and more.
No, we got to talk about the player that I mentioned, another guy trying to get an extra year
of
of eligibility.
No, Craig's got a note about a quarterback.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. We'll come back with that because we don't have the story up on a graphic. We'll come back with that, and then TCU, and then, yes, the NCAA trying to play hardball, at least with statements. That and more. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you the rest of the next couple of hours. 365 Sports. I got this pain in my hip that I've had for a long, long time. I don't have it anymore. It's gone. I had a great spin class today. Played golf both Saturday and Sunday. I even walked 3 miles on Monday morning. I say all of that because that used to then, it was so hard sometimes for me to do that because I had this ache, almost arthritic type pull in my hip. It's gone. I started back in September and visited QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics with locations in Dallas and Houston. The numbers will be up on the screen here pretty soon. QC Kinetics, medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by science, real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your own body, concentrate them right where you need relief, whether it's your shoulders or your elbows or your even wrist or knees or back, or in my case, in my hip. Sometimes part of what was in my lower back was creating the problem in my hip. The sooner you start treatment, the better. I started in September. I've had 4 treatments. I feel fantastic. Couldn't wait to go back and get another one last week. And I even have one left in the holster if I want to use it, but I don't need it right now, and I hope I don't. My golf game is better because I can swing the club and I can approach the ball with the club a lot better. If you have any of that joint issue that I've talked about, whether it's your elbows, your wrists, your shoulders, your knees, wherever it might be, any part of your back, QC Kinetics can help you. Feeling older? Stop. Feel younger. Feel pain-free. Kick the can down the road with steroid injections. I did that for a long, long time. QC Kinetics using what's inside of my body and your body, spinning it and putting it back in your body so your body can heal with what you have. Your own normal regenerative type treatment. You fix you. QC Kinetics with locations, Dallas 972-972-8610, Houston 713-913-5285. You could also go online at qckinetics.com.
Hemi is back, and it's Truck Month at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new Ram 1500 Bone Start Crew Cab with $10,000 off or 0% financing, plus the best truck warranty in America at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by, let's be friends.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Cat floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
Chancellor Johnson on Big 12 basketball and college basketball at 4. John McClain at 5. Craig's off the radar 4:45. And Craig had this story that just popped recently on Chandler Morris, Craig.
Yeah, this story just irritates the hell out of me, and I'm sure it will irritate some of you as well if you haven't seen it already, or if you have, then maybe you're in the same camp that I am. But we know there's all these eligibility lawsuits and waivers and all these different things that have been ongoing, and really part of the biggest storylines of the offseason at this point. I mean, outside of the typical coaching carousel and recruiting, there's been a little bit of playoff talk and how to continue configuring that, but I feel like the offseason has been marked by lawsuits and eligibility lawsuits. And so here we are, and there's another one. And it involves Chandler Morris, Virginia quarterback. Craig, how could it involve Chandler Morris? He's been playing for like 10 years. Close. He's played 6, and now he's looking for a 7th. Chandler Morris filed in a lawsuit against the NCAA, according to CBS Sports, in search of a 7th year of eligibility. His agent tells Chris Hummer. Morris filed the suit in Virginia State Court after the NCAA denied in January his request for an eligibility waiver. The basis of Morris's waiver request was that he sustained injuries at TCU in 22 and 23, and he argued that he should have qualified for medical red shirts in both campaigns. So now we've seen the Trinidad Chambliss where we never asked for a medical red shirt. We never cared about the medical red shirt. But now that we want to get an extra year, now we need to go say that that was a medical red shirt year. And it worked for Trinidad Chambliss. Morris is trying to double up. He's saying, well, 22 was a medical red shirt, or should have been. Well, 23 should have been one. So, hey, grant one of those, and I still get my year of eligibility. He played 4 games in 22, 7 games in 23, after utilizing a red shirt in 21. His 2020 season didn't count because that was COVID, obviously. He was healthy his final 2 years, played fully at North Texas and Virginia, led the American – okay, whatever. So if the court grants Morris relief, and they had a really nice year at Virginia, obviously right there in the mix in the ACC championship race, and 11 wins, and that's the best that they've ever done. And it was a really nice year for the Cavaliers, and he was a part of that. But it says if the court grants Morris relief against the NCAA's eligibility rules, he could return to Virginia in search of CFP contention. Although they've already picked up a couple of quarterbacks this offseason, including Bo Perbula. So I don't know
Missouri.
Why you would do all of that. Clearly they didn't expect that he would be trying to come back. And so that's why they went ahead and moved on and picked up a couple of quarterbacks. But, Chandler Morris is trying to get a 7th year of eligibility, and I find this to be just ridiculous. And if he played in 7 games in one of those years, I don't think he should really be saying, well, I 23 or 22 and 23. He played in 7 games in 23, then I don't think that year should be a medical red shirt. I don't think 22 should be either. I think what he's going to try and claim retroactively is like, well, if I knew about the red shirt, like he could have done it differently, obviously, and realizes that now at this point. So had he, I guess, had a little bit more foresight, maybe he could have navigated this differently and would have gotten a medical red shirt for one of those years and would have been allowed to play, but he didn't. Now he's trying to get one because why wouldn't he? This is the best it's going to get for him. I mean, let's just – and that's – hey, that's not a knock. He just played for an ACC title. That's a big deal. They almost made the damn playoff at Virginia. Best year they've had. So I could see where that was a lot of fun. But I also could see where Chandler Morris has really no loyalty given, I don't know, the number of teams he's already been on. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he got this year and then went on to what would be his 5th or 6th school at this point in 7 years. I think 5th would be the mark. Is it 4th or 5th? It gets confusing when you've moved around so many times. But
well, you mentioned loyalty. There's also maybe the lack of loyalty to him,
of
too,
course,
by some of the programs.
No, of course. But, I don't think that
this would be it will be his 5th team.
If he were to go somewhere else.
Oklahoma, TCU, North Texas, and Virginia.
Right, so he's already played on 4 teams. And you're right, Oklahoma and various others could have said, hey, good luck to you, pal. We got somebody coming in. So it does cut both ways. I'm not like a Chandler Morris hater. I'm a hater of 7-year quarterbacks and 8-year tight ends and 9-year wide receivers. And it's like the shorts rule we were talking about yesterday. there's always somebody who wants to play the other side just for attention or because they really feel strongly about it. And there was just some random person that's like, why are they showing the most extreme example of how people wear shorts to prove a point? It's because that's where it will be taken. So with Chandler Morris, I feel like now that the Pandora's box has been opened up, there's going to be guys like him, and we've already seen it, that are just going to refuse to leave college if they don't have to. And I've seen some people on the way who are like, well, what's the big deal? Like I think it's a very small minority. I think some of it's probably even trolling. I don't know about you guys. I have no, and I mean zero desire to see 8 and 9 year quarterbacks and dudes in their late 20s, early 30s still playing at Virginia. The charm of college football is that eventually these guys do move on. It's fun when you have a guy that you want to stick around for a while, and you hope he sticks around as long as possible. But then as bittersweet as it is, it's like, dude, thanks for the time, and now here comes the next guy, and we get excited about that. This sticking around, even though he's not technically sticking around anywhere, he's been at 4 schools already. But it's just, I'd find it to be absurd. I understand from his point of view why this would probably be something that you would pursue. But damn, man, if he gets granted a 7th year, like that's just.
Well, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance. It's not like you go in, like I saw where Bediako, by the way, he had another, injunction. He got turned down by a judge. So he's done. I mean, that's like he's lost a couple of lawsuits to the NCAA. You lose one to the NCAA, you ought to just say, okay, I'm a loser.
No, Bediako's going to the Supreme Court. He's trying to go to the Supreme Court to play. And what's funny about that is that most Bama fans at this point are like, we're better without you. Like, they don't even care.
I think they're pretty good with him. I think they're slightly better with him.
Okay, well, they're fine without him, though. They don't need that's the point I was trying to make, is they don't feel like they need Charles Bediako. It wasn't like when it first happened, and you're like, damn, they could use him to – now they've played it out, and they're like, we're okay either way, honestly, and it's kind of silly that we keep getting caught up in the headlines here. So, Charles – people that were defending him like 2 months ago are now like, dude, just move on. Like, the courts, even Bama fans are like, bud, just leave already. Like, enough of this. And
yeah, they're 10-4 in second place in the SEC.
So they don't need him. It's a nice extra cup of sprinkles, but it's not like the dessert's all that different. So, I saw that kind of change in tone from some Bama folks where it's like, bro, I was supporting you like a month ago, but now you've been denied, and now you're trying to take it to the Supreme Court. Like, go get a job, seriously. So anyways, I mean, 2 different scenarios. But, yeah, Chandler Morris is suing to try to get a 7th year of eligibility and saying that a couple of his years should have counted as a medical red shirts. So, I mean, who the hell knows, quite frankly, what will happen as far as this goes. I mean, I certainly don't feel confident. I wouldn't want to put my paycheck on what might be determined by a court when it comes to eligibility rulings at this point, because they seem to be kind of all over the place. But also, every story is a little bit different. So, yeah, there you go.
This is from Kialani. The idea of an eligibility window is antiquated and will most likely fall by the wayside since the concept of amateur athletes has been all but eliminated. And that's a good point. Who knows what the eligibility clock really is? Because you've had a 9th year tight end at Miami, and you've also had many others and people that have won the extended years and we've seen some that didn't. For example, Aguilar, he did not win at Tennessee. Chambliss, of course, did, and maybe had some home cooking. I'm glad Chambliss is playing another year. I look forward to watching him. I'm sure defenses don't.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him, but I don't want to see him the year after that too. That's the point. Is like that's where why focus on the extreme version of the guy wearing shorts, because that's eventually where it gets taken, is to the extreme. You try to cut it off before it gets to that point where now there's guys fighting for 8 and 9 years of eligibility, refusing to leave. Which, again, if you're Chandler Morris, you're probably okay to begin with, given your dad's career and all of that. Like, I don't think you're eating ramen noodles every night, but even as your own man in the NIL world, you've done really well for yourself, the starting quarterback of an ACC squad that made it to the conference championship game. So, like, dude, you got some skins on the wall. But, yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to leave. But as a college football fan, I've seen 6 years of Chandler Morris at 4 different schools. I don't particularly want to see him a 7th year at a 5th different school. So we'll see if he gets that opportunity or not, but that's just the latest in eligibility lawsuits. That's the thing that's now under attack. And Kalani makes a good point. I think that's why you see a lot of people pushing for this 5-year rule. Like, you get 5. It doesn't matter what happens in those 5. You get 5. Now, I know there's unexplained things with that. Like, what happens if you do get hurt? I do think if a guy has a couple torn ACLs that you shouldn't just go like, sorry, you had 5.
Like Shipley at Texas is always a good example.
Like, you shouldn't just force them out of school. So that's something that would need to be talked a bit more through, and you have to get a little bit deeper into that conversation because, you just know, like, 5 no matter what. Sorry, guy who tore your ACL twice. You're just screwed, pal. But, yeah, the 7th, 8th years, just absurd in my opinion.
All right, so you know where he once played, right? Chandler Morris?
Oklahoma, TCU, North Texas.
All right,
yeah.
TCU opens the year up in Dublin, Ireland, which can be a Bermuda Triangle for some. Ask Florida State, ask Nebraska, and then last year K-State. This is the helmet they're going to wear when they play North Carolina and Bill Belichick on August the 29th. It has kind of the classic Rose Bowl look, but instead of a rose, it's a clover for the opening game next year this year, later on in August, against North Carolina.
Yeah, I should mention, too, on going back to Chandler for a second, I mentioned Perbula, but they also got Eli Holstein. So, yeah, Perbula will be the starting quarterback.
So they got guys that were at Missouri and Notre Dame, right? Or Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
So, yeah, I would take Bo Perbula over Holstein without blinking, but that's 2 quarterbacks they picked up, so I wouldn't think Virginia would be back in the Chandler Morris game if he were to get a waiver. Nevertheless, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, that TCU's doing that and it's adding a little something extra to the uniforms for the special occasion. Like you said, teams do that with the Rose Bowl all the time. So, yeah, that's a nice little touch. And TCU is a team I'm really curious about next season. I think you automatically sort of place them, if you were to split the conference in half, you put them just on the top tier of the top half of the conference by default. And then you start to look into it, and they got a lot of questions. I mean, the Ivy League quarterback is very interesting. Sonny Dykes knows QBs, so I'm going to say, hey, this kid must be or this guy must be pretty talented. If Sonny Dykes signs off on him, then he must be pretty good. But I have a lot of questions about TCU and how they stack up. And then to go start off in Ireland, you wonder how much that throws you one way or the other. As we saw, like, that game over the last few years can kind of set a trajectory for some teams coming out of that on the other side because it's just such a different way to open up the season. And K-State certainly felt that to some degree last year. But, yeah, that's a cool little touch on the uniform, and we'll see how TCU navigates the international trip and then getting back to the normalcy of a regular season. It's something that could kind of throw you sideways.
I don't know if any of you watch Landman, which is on, Paramount Plus. There's a scene, the girl who's the daughter's going to TCU, and they talk about it's not a frog, it's a lizard. She and her mother. It's an interesting scene in that series. I love that series. It's hilarious, and kind of gotten into it. Now, speaking of college football, Jeff Monken, head coach at Army-Navy, college football playoff expansion, 12 again for one more year, then who knows what's going to do. And there's always the debate about, can they do something in the same day or on the same day as Army-Navy? Can they play games before, give a buffer for 4+ hours, and then play games that evening that are a part of the college football playoff? And the answer has been, that's absolutely been discussed. The Army-Navy game has been played on the second Saturday of December since 2009. And Jeff Monken, the head coach at Army, is saying that he's starting to look at and have conversations and look at the feasibility of that game being played during Thanksgiving weekend, the weekend before.
So how long has that been going on that date you mentioned?
2009.
Oh, we can't break this precious history. Since 2009. No, I just obviously.
It's not so much that date, the Saturday. It is.
No, I know.
It's about protecting just the 4 or 5 hours around that game. Yeah, but you're right.
I think, I mean, the tradition of the second Saturday in December is only since 2009. So I think that there's no need to really drill down on that specific part of, well, it's got to be the second Saturday of December because it's been that way since 2009. If it was 1909, then I would be like, yeah, absolutely can't change that whatsoever. It was 1929, I'd say the same thing. But I get that this has been a consistent topic because everybody's just trying to figure out the best way to do things and make it neat and make it clean and make it make sense for everybody. And having them on this pedestal sort of separately where nobody can play around it. And I don't think the argument is that you can't play on that day so much now as it's just you don't want to play head-to-head with that.
Yeah,
and that's
because
fine.
they've had FCS games or whatever. It's
that's
just
also ridiculous.
It's the afternoon. I think if they played games at 11 or 12 that were done in time for that game, or games at 7 or 6 or whatever following that game, I don't think there would be much of an argument. But the problem is, both of them, last year, Navy was really good. What was there, like one loss? They had 2 losses, I think, and one of them was to Notre Dame. The other one might have been to North Texas. They were very much in contention for a college football playoff. And Army 2 or 3 years ago, and that's where the conflict comes into play.
Well, there's a lot of conflicts because there's a Saturday where people could be playing, and there's this reservation for only these 2 teams to be allowed to play because it's America's game, and rightfully so. I think that it would solve a lot of problems for everybody if they just moved it up as he suggests that they do, and you had a now full weekend where there's no barrier to play where, yeah, you get the championship games started or whatever. I don't know. I haven't looked at how the schedule would have broken down. Like the playoffs get started earlier. I'm all for that. I think most people are. I think I'm sure, going back to your example, they would have liked to have been playing earlier, so not to have had this sort of like we're on an island having to figure out like how this all works because we play later than other teams and we're in the mix, and it's just does that make sense? It's just kind of weird. So
if they play on Thanksgiving weekend or whatever day that is and they protect the time period, it doesn't affect whether or not they're going to screw up the schedule and make the playoff.
Right, and if somebody's playing earlier in the day or afterwards, it doesn't affect that game having a pedestal all up to its own to be America's game and be the only game in town. It doesn't have to be the only game in town that day. It just needs to be, if you want to protect it and keep it as special as possible, I mean, yeah, sure, block out the whole damn weekend for them. But, I mean, just give them their own time slot. That's what I think you can protect and satisfy all parties. It doesn't make sense that, no, nobody else can play this day. Not that I think anybody's pounding the desk saying that, but, yeah, let's put it this way. If Monken's okay with it, then why the hell would I care? If Army's coach, who's involved directly in this, is saying, I think we should play earlier, then why should anybody disagree with that?
As long as the general's above him, and also Newberry, of course, at Navy, if they agree, then I don't care. Yeah, to me, it's off the table.
I mean, Monken's saying there's no appetite to keep playing all the way to the end of January, which he's correct. He said there's a real hope we can get this thing into one semester and have the championship game around January 1st, which I think would be awesome, which is when you've seen people lay out their dream scenarios of, if they were college football commissioner, like here's how it would all line up. And it's obviously always far more complicated than that. But, yeah, ideally, there's a really cool way you could schedule this sport out and have it end and be really badass. And the TV networks don't necessarily want to do that, and the money-hungry folks don't necessarily want to do that. But all the people who actually love college football and want it to be as badass as it possibly can, they are for that. And Monken, yeah, saying, hey, there's no appetite all the way to the end of January. He's correct. There's a real hope we can get this thing into one semester. Good luck with that. And have the championship game around January 1st, which, yeah, that would be awesome, as he said it would be awesome. But I think that's also unlikely. But this would be a step towards maybe allowing that to be a little bit more feasible. So, yeah, if you move Army-Navy back to Thanksgiving weekend, that's just another big splash game on Thanksgiving weekend, if that's what you choose to do. And you could also move it, as it points out, to conference. I mean, you can move it to conference championship week. You can do it to Thanksgiving weekend. Whenever you want to do it, it just doesn't need to be after everything's done with, basically, and you're all on your own.
Because of the expansion, because the group of 5 is at least going to have one ball in the lottery, you have to protect that game, but you also have to protect those 2 teams. If either one of them was in the playoff, it would be a complete cluster blank. Because what if they have to play in the first round and they're playing that game is the problem. Yeah. So there we are with that. All right. So Chandler Morris, extra, you hear what I'm saying? If in fact they played, if expanding the playoff to 16 or moving the schedule back a week or so, if that happens, if they're going to always play Army-Navy the first Saturday in December, and I'm okay with it, But if you make the playoff and you are a part of the first round, and the first round is the first weekend in December.
Well, then they obviously wouldn't do that.
Well, but why would they get a break?
Well, that's part of the talk, is not keeping it on the same day.
That's what I'm saying. So move it back, protect the game. You can still do that. And also the chance, if you're in the playoff, that it's not a conflict.
Right. I think it's less about they need this day and this day they won't budge, and they must have all of this day and this time slot.
No, it's not a Rose Bowl thing.
No, it's more like they need their own broadcast with no competing broadcast, and that's fine. That can also be on a day where there's other games going on. So, yeah, you can move up to Thanksgiving. You can move up to Conference Championship weekend. Yes, how does that affect Navy if they're in the American or whatever in the championship? I don't know. That's for those folks to sort out and figure out. But if Army's head coach is up for it, then by all means. I don't see why too many people would be against it.
All right, Brandon, what did you say? Okay, we'll take a break right here. Come back with Chancellor Johnson on last night, KU in Houston, and about the Big 12 and the battering ram as it continues. And if you're not careful, watch out, because you could get blindsided by some team you don't even know is there on the street with you. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McClain Stadium off I-35 in Waco. A couple of things are going on. I'm supposed to talk with their general manager, Nick Caldwell, tomorrow. Right now, they're having a round-trip transportation to watch a Stars game. Of course, the United States just had their gold medal win against Canada on Sunday. The Stars in the NHL schedule back in play. And you can go on their Facebook page, register, round-trip transportation to the arena, and entry, of course, a ticket into the game. So you can do that right now by going and visiting, even going inside McClain Stadium to the Baylor Club. Also, getting ready for March. They'll have playoff brackets at the club and have all sorts of ways for you to be a part of that. And then the new menu. They have Tuesday night, which is tonight, sizzling fajitas and $5 Mexican beers. Tomorrow night, $1 wing night. This is at the Baylor Club inside McClain Stadium. Belt-busting Bakers, loaded baked potatoes. That's one of the specials on the menu when it comes to Thursday. Surf and turf, steak and shrimp. Man, that steak, it looks like a lobster tail, on Fridays, and then smoked prime rib on Saturday. They have great chef, top chef. They have great amenities, world-class amenities, delicious cuisine, game day seats if you want them, private event venues for luncheons, dinners, and more at the Baylor Club inside McClain Stadium. Tell them 365 Sports sent you just off I-35 in Waco.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
At the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels, drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or a new Laramie Crew Cab with 3.9% plus $15,000 off MSRP. Shop Allen Samuels at Waco.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports, David Smoak with also Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina back with us tomorrow. He was at Allen Fieldhouse last night for the KU win against Houston, and yet that great streak that continues under Bill Self. We're now joined by Chancellor Johnson, covers the Big 12, broadcast, also analyst, and creates content over and over again. And he joined us on 365 Sports. Chancellor, thank you, sir, for your time. Houston has been so good under Kelvin Sampson. They're still really good, but they haven't seen this 3 in a row, first time in almost a decade. How do you think that they will respond? Okay, I don't think, is the audio up? Okay, we cannot hear you, Chancellor. Let's see if we can get that hooked up again. All right, we'll try to see if we can get that hooked up again. The NFL Combine, by the way, remember yesterday we had Josh Cameron, Baylor receiver, punt returner. Everybody converging on Indianapolis. Really, nothing truly starts until around Thursday, but that is going on this week at Indianapolis. And a couple of notes on 2 quarterbacks. Fernando Mendoza's not going to do much at all. He's the number 1 pick of the draft. He's going to go to the Raiders. That's a done deal. There'll be a pro day at Indiana in Bloomington. But Ty Simpson of Alabama, there were questions because of his health, got beat up at the end of last year. He will throw for the Scouts starting this week and when they get to that at the NFL Combine. Chancellor Johnson joins us now on 365 Sports. Thanks for your time. 3 losses in a row. It's almost like a foreign language for the Cougars and Kelvin Sampson against 3 really good teams. Your thoughts about how they respond, because last night they just did not shoot the ball very well.
You're absolutely right. You know, this is the first time the Houston Cougars have lost 3 straight games since 2017. I was back in college at that point. And the thing is, Houston Cougar fans don't know how to react. They're so used to winning. And this is a team that has Final Four and championship aspirations. But the thing is, they're going through a tough stretch here just in scheduling. And it's something that every team in the Big 12, particularly the contenders, have had to deal with. We saw it with Arizona. We saw it with BYU. We saw it with Iowa State, Kansas even. And now Houston has their turn. And so far, they're 0-3 in this run. And now they turn their attention to Colorado, but things aren't going their way. And for a team that has Final Four and championship hopes, they'll have to turn things around. And as somebody who's been covering the Houston Cougars for some years now, I need to see them come conference tournament in a couple of weeks from now, beat one of those top teams if they're going to get back into that Final Four contention. Because right now, this is not the defensive teams that we've seen led by Kelvin Sampson. Offensively, they've had their struggles as well. And so they'll have to turn things around if they're going to try to get back to where they were last year, and that's a national championship game.
So, Chancellor, on the other side of the coin, Kansas, that was a really big win for them. I mean, they got destroyed by Cincinnati over the weekend, and so to bounce back in front of a home crowd had to feel really good. You've also got the Darren Peterson situation lingering constantly as well. Your thoughts on how Bill Self's just kind of been the steady hand trying to keep this thing moving on along, and how he's handling all the outside interference and trying to balance it all?
Well, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason.
Yep.
And with Bill Self, you look at the roster that he constructed. Obviously, the prime prize there is Darren Peterson. But even before, up to conference play, he was saying, look, we have, a future #1 overall pick potentially in Darren Peterson, but we also have some really nice guys and really talented guys on this team too. Look at Flory Badunga, who I believe is going to be the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. You look at Trey White, who had a big night, a really good role player for them. Melvin Council Jr., he's the energy for this team. So they, with Darren Peterson, are a really complete team, and even without him, they've shown they can beat the best teams as well. We saw that about a week ago on Big Monday with Kansas. They beat Arizona without Darren Peterson. So the thing is, Bill Self has been able to make things work there, but obviously their ceiling continues to rise whenever Darren Peterson, such a talented player, is on the floor and you see his production. And so if they can get that type of production and that type of minutes from him consistently, this is a team that can certainly go to Indianapolis come the end of the season.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I forgot, Kyle Tucker, one of the writers, put this up, that their ceiling might be like Mars, and yet their floor might be concrete. It's like they are so... They're good. They're really good. They've got 3 huge wins on their schedule, but they're kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde right now for Bill Self.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they're looking for is consistency. And even if Darren Peterson, if he's not going to play, then he's not going to play. And then that way, Bill Self and his team can go about their games and their game planning, knowing, okay, we won't have him. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, we've seen the fact that they can beat some of these best teams. But of course, as I mentioned before, Darren Peterson certainly unlocks them. It's a great defensive team, and offensively as well, they have the firepower. And look, we're talking about Houston, and look, they didn't play their best game yesterday. But to me, you have to give Kansas credit. Defensively, they suffocated the Houston guards. And you have a guy like Keeson Flemings, who's a projected top 10 pick, and he had a slower night. He wasn't all that efficient. He was able to get things going later on. But to me, that credits goes to the Kansas Jayhawks. And, once again, when they're all together, this is a team that can win a national championship.
Chancellor, what do you think about Texas Tech without JT Toppin moving forward? I mean, obviously a big blow. They're still a good team. Not quite as good without him, obviously. But to what degree? How do you think that changes their season, if at all? And how do you think they can keep things afloat?
I mean, it certainly changes the national championship hopes for this team, because winning a national title is just so difficult, right? And when you miss the Big 12, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, and a guy who was going to be an All-American, was in the conversation for the John Wooden Award as being the best player in college basketball, right along Cam Boozer, it's tough, right? But the thing is, they also have another really talented player in Christian Anderson, who is playing like an All-American guard. He's so talented. The thing is, though, he misses his partner in crime. They were the best duo in the country for a reason, and you look at what they were able to do, particularly in the pick and roll game, that's no longer there. But the thing is, Grant McCasland is such a great coach. And I'll get back to Texas Tech in a moment, but we always talk about all the players and all the talent in the Big 12. But how about the coaching, right? You start off with Kelvin Sampson, who's won Big 12 Coach of the Year back-to-back years. You got Tommy Lloyd, who's putting together one of the best seasons we've seen in Arizona program history, really, of all time. You look at, as I mentioned, Grant McCasland, Scott Drew at Baylor. Kevin Young is a up-and-coming coach there. Bill Self, a Hall of Famer. So, we talk about the players, but the coaches, they definitely deserve some credit too. And in regards to Grant McCasland, he has to do some things to get, Texas Tech to maximize this team without JT Toppin. And we saw what they were able to do in the first game without Toppin. That was beating up on Kansas State. A lot of teams have done that all season long. But, Donovan Atwell has been a really nice player for them, shooting over 40% from deep. And so they're going to have to get more production from him, along with Jalen Petty, who's another freshman that doesn't get talked about as much, who has a lot to his game. I would keep my eye out on him if you're a college basketball fan, because this is his freshman year. He's learning behind Christian Anderson, but next year he's a guy that I think can really take that next step. And so these are the pieces that they're going to have to work with. They'll have some time to really gel together without JT Toppin. To me, I can still see Texas Tech as being a second weekend team getting to at least the Sweet 16, because Grant McCasland is that great of a coach, and they also have the talent still there and defensively to get to where they want to go, at least into the second weekend of the tournament.
How would you describe the Big 12 week to week, week in, week out, the Monday or Tuesday? There's a game even on Wednesday every night. Then you turn around, there's games on Saturday. How would you describe it if you could, like an analogy of something else in life?
Well, listen, from a fan's perspective, it's a lot of fun. You ask one of these coaches, it's a headache. Even Kelvin Sampson joked about it yesterday. He compared it to playing like 3 different NBA teams. And, with all the great, programs here and even the teams that are kind of middle of the pack, you look at Oklahoma State, who beat up on BYU while Richie Saunders was still on that team. They were able to get that upset at home. UCF is having one of their better seasons they've had in a really long time, hoping to get to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2019. Arizona State, they're having a rough year, but they just beat Texas Tech, and that's before JT Toppin was hurt. They were leading in that game in that second half up until he got hurt there. And so you have to bring it every single night. But for me, I'm enjoying watching it. From talking to one of the coaches though, they'll tell you, man, it's no fun preparing for it. But I will say, with that being said, it certainly prepares these teams once you get to the NCAA tournament, because at that point you've seen a little bit of everything, right? You've seen a team that has superstar power, right? In an AJ DeBonsa like BYU. So if you go out and play a team that has, a top pick like a Louisville, right? A Mikael Brown Jr., you've seen that with playing a BYU. You've seen a team that is so defensively sound like a Houston. So you're prepared for that when you get to the NCAA tournament and you go elsewhere. You've seen a complete team if you have to go against a Michigan or a Duke and Arizona. I can go on. And so, it'll really get these guys prepared. And even though, Arizona is likely to win the Big 12 regular season title, if you're Kansas, if you're Houston, if you're BYU and Texas Tech, you feel like, hey, look, even though we didn't win the Big 12 tournament, we still have the horses to compete to try to get to a Final Four, and I'll certainly have these teams prepared once they get there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Big 12 continues to prove that they're the best conference of having the most remaining teams as you get further and further along in the NCAA tournament.
And Iowa State, too. And I know,
sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to help you because I don't want you to get slammed. No, because there's a chunk. And it's easy to forget one of them. If you don't forget BYU, you forget Iowa State. If you don't forget Iowa State, you forget Tech. It is. I hope that there's 5 highly ranked teams, and they're going to pretty much stay that way. I hope, Chancellor, that they put one Big 12 team among the top 4 seeds in each region, and they don't get they're maybe going to get 2 good ones, but they let those teams get spread out among all 4 regions in the tournament.
I hope so too, and obviously I think Arizona is certainly on their way to becoming number 1 overall seed. And I do want to talk about Iowa State there before I forget about them. They feature one of the best trios in the country, and Milan Momcilovic, who is the best shooter in the country. Tatum Lipsey, when we talk about all these point guards across the country, he doesn't get enough love, and we see how, as they call it, he makes Taman plays. We saw that when Iowa State beat Houston, and some of the plays he made late in the game. And then Joshua Jefferson is a guy who's played like an All-American, and so like I said, I don't want to forget about them because they're another team that can go to the Final Four. That just goes to show you about how deep the Big 12 is that you can list these teams off and you can almost forget about them. But Iowa State's another team that has the opportunity to go really far in this tournament, if not get to the Final Four. And so I agree with you. I hope they're able to spread them out because there's so many good teams. And then as I mentioned, some other teams that aren't at the top, like a UCF, maybe TCU can sneak in there. They're a bubble team as well. So there's some other teams that can also make some noise across the Big 12.
Now, BYU has the loss, of course, of Saunders, and now we've seen other teams that have lost players like Tech and Toppin, as Craig brought up. They are still really good, and as you mentioned, Kevin Young and what he can do. Is DeBonsa the conference player of the year with Toppin going to miss those last 4 or 5 games, or would somebody else be in that conversation?
I think at this point, it is A.J. DeBonsa's award to lose. Now, up until the game where they beat Iowa State, I actually had it potentially going to somebody else. The question was, who is going to be the separator, right? The reason why I thought that, as great as A.J. DeBonsa has been all season long, deservedly a candidate to be an All-American, and he absolutely should be. When it came to Big 12 Player of the Year, up until their win over Iowa State, I wasn't for sure because they were trending in the opposite direction. They had lost 5 out of their 7 games. They were 7th place in the Big 12, and out of the teams of Iowa State, Houston, Kansas, Arizona, Texas Tech, they hadn't beaten anybody of the top teams. And so I was concerned that as great, as productive as AJ DeBonta had been all season long, that if you are in the back half of this conference and you haven't been in the top teams, if Kingston Flemings, before, they lost to Arizona and Iowa State, if he had to help propel them to a Big 12 title, he was going to have to be the guy to help them lead them that way. I thought maybe he had a chance. But Joshua Jefferson, when they played BYU, he was completely outplayed by AJ DeBonta. And then on top of what we see night in and night out on the offensive end of the floor, he was great defensively as well. That would be DeBonta. And so now, to me, he is your Big 12 Player of the Year. The stats show that. The impact shows that. And now he has a signature win to compile on that. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, he is your Big 12 Player of the Year.
All right, Chancellor, we mentioned Houston in the 3-game slide. KU doesn't lose on Monday night with Bill Self at Allen Fieldhouse. Arizona plays them next, which is, again, a part of the complement of the Big 12. Which team, if you were to seed them 1 through 5, would you go with basically how it is in the standings with Arizona, KU, Houston, Iowa State, Tech? And again, BYU would be 6. Is who at the bottom, Tech or BYU, do you think could make a deeper run with both teams having a star player out?
I would go BYU because every single time they touch the floor, they're going to have the best player on the court. And that means something when you get to the NCAA tournament. Let's look at Houston, right? And they were going into a hostile environment yesterday versus Kansas. And as great as Kingston Flemings has been all season long, they were looking for somebody to take over, right? And Kingston had some struggles. Houston was looking for somebody to do it, maybe one of the seniors, Miles Uzan or Emmanuel Sharp, and they just weren't able to get it done. BYU, on the other hand, if they get down in the game, or even if the game's tied or if it's up, everybody knows where the ball is going. It's going to their key freshman. And now without Richie Saunders, Kevin Young is able to even kind of narrow the offensive options down even more. It's going to go to AJ DeBonta or Rod Wright III, who's put together some nice games as well without Richie Saunders out. And so the formula for BYU is pretty simple. They're going to have to play some defense, going to have to rebound the basketball, and then hope that AJ DeBonta continues to do what he's done all season long, and that's get buckets. And so far, we've seen him have 30-point nights. We've seen him have 40-point nights. And so I trust BYU a little bit more without their star player, Richie Saunders, than I do Texas Tech. But Texas Tech, they certainly have some time to continue to improve it, to prove it along these next couple of weeks heading into the Big 12 tournament. I think we'll learn a lot about some of these other teams along the way here over the next couple of weeks before we turn our attention to the big dance.
And then you have UCF scores a lot of points. TCU just seems like they're always around that middle of the pack. And then, my God, all of a sudden Cincinnati blows out KU in Lawrence. It is fun. Chancellor, I enjoy your work. Appreciate the content, too. Thanks for your time. We hope to get you on again between now and the Big 12 tournament.
Please do. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
You too. Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 Network analyst and also content creator. Saw him at the Big 12 Media Days back in the fall, and have been kind of following his timeline, and we appreciate that. I had given you guys, and I did get permission, Kim Coulter, who's, of course, a sponsor, North Star Funding Partners, also a viewer. He's been in the hospital in and out. And then last night late, he had 2 back surgeries last week, and some of you have asked me for an update. It wasn't good. He had to be rushed to the emergency room, spent the night in the hospital, and his wife gave me this update just a moment ago. They did ultrasounds earlier in the day today to check for blood clots, taking pain meds and not releasing him today, hopefully tomorrow. He's just resting. Then an update. They did find a blood clot in his left leg that will also be treated, put him on some medication to help with the nerve pain. The nerve pain is what sent him to the hospital last night. He is okay, and I was clear to give that information to you, the audience. So want to wish Kim the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to Chancellor for joining us. First time I believe we've had him on, so good to get to know him a little bit, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from him, like you said, on a more frequent basis. But yeah, that was enjoyable, and sad to hear the news about Kim. Although I guess it's not all bad news that you found something you needed to find, obviously. And Kim's a great supporter of this show, and great friend of the show, and so we wish him nothing but the best. And I hate to hear that he's struggling and going through so many issues right now. So I hope that can clear itself up, and the doctors can help him find a little bit of peace and respite from what's been ailing him, and hopefully surely figure out anything that might be something that could continue to be a problem moving forward. That sucks. This is my selfish takeaway is just like I'm at a point now where I've gotten old enough to where I feel like everybody around me, all they talk about is like medical updates. You know what I mean? Like when you get to a certain age, it's like everybody, it's medical updates all the time. And I just feel like that's at least for me, that's happened a lot lately. So Kim, I understand little of what you're going through, other than I know it's tough. And so, man, we're praying and hoping for the best, and hope you start feeling better real soon, man.
I did ask you if I could mention that, and she said, yeah, he said, because he's an entertainer too. Kim loves the fact that I just get an update. If you've ever had any nerve issue, it can shut you down. It did to me in the Super Bowl a year ago in New Orleans, where I just was basically crippled. It just horrible pain. So glad he's going to get some help with that. All right, when we come back, just around the corner, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, a couple of notes for the NCAA. Are they flapping their gums, or are they real? And are they just trying to threaten yet again to put the hammer down on some of their own members? This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Bob Mock. I played golf, in fact, on, Saturday with Keith Powell, who's a friend of Bob Mock, and Bob Mock's a friend of mine too. He owns 5 locations of Marco's Pizza in Waco, and we were talking about having a good time and traded a text or two with Bob that day. I wish I would have played a little bit better on the front 9, but I played really well with a 38 in the back 9. And great pizza at Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Go to marcos.com. You can go online and pick something up on the way home, or you could have them deliver it to you. Whatever you want, you can use the app, you can go online, or you can drop by one of their stores, and they will do that. Marco's Pizza, sandwiches, salads, wings, and more. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr, GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports, David Smoak with Craig Smoak. Paul Catalina is back tomorrow with us. And, of course, we'll look back at tonight's games in the Big 12 and also look ahead to much more, including the Combine going on in Indianapolis. John Cooper, our lad's guide to the NFL Draft, will join us tomorrow, among other guests. So I saw this yesterday. I got to tell you, before we show the tweet, I see these now, and I want to turn my head and cough like I'm getting like a physical. And then I just don't want to talk about it at all. But it's a part of what is the landscape. It's not enough to where we wanted to lead the show with it, but it's a good time to discuss it because the NCAA, as we know, basically waited for so long to protect itself and have all of the money for themselves, and now they're paying for being so selfish. In some cases, there's a lot of lawsuits that go against them, which I'm like, Lee, come on. We were just talking about the possibility of Chandler Morris in a 7th year. But this is from Ross Dellinger. In a memo sent today to NCAA schools, the Vice President of Enforcement, John Duncan, announces the Division I Board of Directors has charged the staff to pursue significant penalties for tampering violations while also more publicly announcing cases and reminded schools about the tampering bylaw. And here's an image that goes with this. Communications of any kind not permitted when students are at another school or any other representatives of these particular students intentionally. If a coach is contacted by an agent of a student athlete who is not in the transfer portal, any further continuation of that discussion is a rules violation. That includes a coach or a booster expressing interest or suggesting the possibility of a roster spot opening up for a student athlete should the individual enter the transfer portal. Now, there's also a second part of this. We don't have to show that, Brandon, but they're wanting to. They want to put. I hope they can do something, but then again, I don't trust the NCAA to be able to get it done. Christy Dosh, who has joined this show, said this in a tweet in response to Ross's tweet. The workaround has been agents contacting general managers prior to the transfer portal, but if it wasn't clear that wasn't allowed before, it is now. The real question is whether the NCAA will actually enforce this in any kind of meaningful way.
Yeah, it sounds good. Let's see it actually in practice. I mean, I've seen so many Ross Dellinger tweets about ideas and things the NCAA says it's going to do that just go into the trash bin without anybody even noticing. Or we notice as they attempt to do these things and these things aren't enforceable or get sued into oblivion, and we end up right back at the same exact spot that we began. So, yeah, I mean, there are definitely stories like this that need to be talked about and discussed, and they are important in the grand scheme of things. But as far as any tweet from anybody, especially when we've seen it time and time again, that's, well, now they're really going to get serious. I just don't take it seriously. I do seriously think they are trying to be serious. I don't think they actually have the ability to do really anything of substance, given the way everything is set up right now. But we'll see if they say, hey, Miami, and I looked down at a piece of paper, Miami's listed right here. No, I'll say screw it. Illinois, there's a team that doesn't really ever feel like they probably get picked on much. Illinois, if they're out there cheating and they're bending rules and they've got guys going the runaround to talk to players and get them into the portal, and they're doing all the things that are supposed to be against the rules, and you can prove that and you can actually punish them for that, that's great. The problem is the NCAA is still the schools. And then the schools who say they want to play by the rules of the NCAA, which they technically are part of leading, then turn around when they get punished and they sue the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get out of it, and then they go back to clamoring when the other side does it that they don't want Indiana doing it. Indiana needs to be punished oh, but we did it. No. We're going to sue you and get out of that. And it's just a never-ending cycle where everybody says they want rules, except for they don't want to play by them. I think everybody wants rules that everybody else has to follow, and then you're going to be the smart guys in the room, and you're going to bend them and get the ultimate advantage, which is what college sports has been now for probably its entire existence, is people finding ways to bend the rules to get an advantage. So, that all sounds great, but I'll believe it when I see it, and we haven't seen anything yet to lead us to believe that this thing's actually going to have real teeth to it that would persuade anybody from pretty much finding the same old routes to the same old end game, which is to put yourself in the best position as possible to win at whatever cost that may be. So, I think it's sort of – I was thinking about this. There's been a clamoring for the last few years for some type of an authority figure, and I know I've mentioned it on this show as well, and there's people out there who have flat out said, like, I want to be the commissioner. I would love to be the commissioner. I want to be, this and that, and have thrown their names into the hat, so to speak, to be that person. And there's been various others who have nominated people to be that person, and it's Mac Brown, or it's Nick Saban, or it's a media personality, or it's whoever. And I was sitting there thinking about this the other night. It's like, okay, you could do that, but what could that person even actually do? What could a commissioner even do? Are they going to suddenly go, well, I'm now the commissioner, so I say you have to schedule geographically? No, you can't. I'm the commissioner, so now you have to stop doing this, or else what? What are you going to do about it? Like, this commissioner thing is a nice idea, and I'm one who said there needs to be a central authority figure, but what I think gets kind of lost in the sauce of somebody just simply wanting a title and having these fantasy scenarios of what you would do. Like, I would make Army Navy this week, and I would make the playoffs this way, and that all sounds fun, and it's like dream booking. It's fantasy booking, and people do that with all sorts of fandoms, including college football. It's why we have 1,000 different playoff scenarios that have been thrown out there, and some of them are really cool, and some of them are probably not going to vibe or whatever work, but it's still cool nonetheless. And so I see a lot of these commissioner-like ideas of, like, I would mandate that this would happen and that would happen. Okay, how are you going to enforce that? That's the issue. You can't enforce any of this stuff. And the moment you try to, you get sued out of being able to enforce it. So until that part of it gets figured out, then I don't know what any of it really matters, other than just being more talk about talking to talk to hopefully get to a point where there's actually action taking place. And I hate to be so negative about it. I don't feel probably as negative as I sound. I just know that there's more to it than this guy's in charge. Go fix football. It's like, okay, what authority does he have to go fix anything, And so we'll see here. Here's as much of an authority as there is right now in this sport. They're saying they're going to punish teams. We're all kind of rolling our eyes.
I did.
Let's see if they can actually do something. And if they can, then you know what? That would be a massive step forward. If they could actually say, you know what? Who else is on here? Clemson's breaking the rules. We're going to punish them and dock them this, that, or the other. And Clemson says, oh, shoot. Okay, well, we're not going to do that again. And Baylor's out there saying, well, we're going to do that, but now we're not, or Vanderbilt or whoever. Then that would be something, but that's not what it is right now. So, if they have some teeth, then flash them. But if not, then it's just more talk about mythical authority scenarios.
All right, here's someone with a suggestion. The NCAA should reconsider its approach to pursue significant penalties for tampering violations. It has no good options. The options are, one, selectively punish a handful of schools to make an example. They've done that before. Remember Oklahoma State men's basketball or some other smaller school? Not that they haven't hammered some of the big boys occasionally, even in football. Number two, go scorched earth on every power conference program, none of which are clean. Number three, quietly let the status quo continue. This is the only realistic outcome. NFL agents and teams are constantly talking before the legal tampering window opens. The NFL tolerates it because the alternative would be far worse than looking the other way. The NCAA is in the same boat. Tampering is so widespread that meaningful enforcement would implicate every major program. Selectively going after a few schools would be arbitrary and invite legal challenges. The NCAA already knows how that goes. going after all violators would cause the whole association to crumble.
Yeah, I mean, that's really well said. And, I mean, there's obviously a lot of people trying to protect the system and the foundation of it all. And, it's a messy deal that they're trying to figure out and can't seem to figure out. So it's just frustrating from a fan standpoint that it's just a never-ending conversation. I think the most telling thing is that they have ways, they just don't want to go down those pathways because those pathways would too drastically change everything to the point, I believe, of that to some degree is, it would bring it all down and it would not look quite like what it is or be quite what it was as we've known it for a while now.
You know who actually wrote that? You're not going to believe it. Darren Heitner, who is representing athletes left and right, winning lawsuits left and right, getting involved in left and right. But here's from a guy that represents as an agent, and he's the one that benefits with all this chaos, and yet he wrote that. And I was like, damn, he wrote that. We need to listen to him because sometimes I'm not so sure we do. And in this case, he makes tremendous sense.
Yeah, I mean, he also, I'm sure, stands to gain in some way as well from either way that this goes. As a lawyer right now, it's a really nice job to have in the college sports space. So I think that there's only so many options out there, and obviously they don't like some of the options. So I don't know. I'm somebody who has no power or control as far as that goes, and I would love to see them come to a solution of some sort, but it doesn't look like they want to go down the pathway that would make the most sense. So that also means I don't want to hear all the complaining and the hand-wringing and the moaning about, well, this or that or the other. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's the lawyers, sometimes it's the sharks in the water that are pursuing things like extra eligibility. That's annoying, everything. But you also totally set yourself up for this. You've got a couple of routes you could go to try and do something, and I don't think they want to do that. So I'm not going to be too upset for them that they're having issues managing this.
All right,
I'm just upset as a fan who wishes they could.
No,
somehow.
I see that. I saw Ross Dellinger, who's brilliant, bust his ass covering all this stuff, especially a lot of the much of it is legal meetings, committees, and all of that. And I said, no, I need to read this. And then I saw some of the reactions, Christy Dosh, even Darren Heitner, who well-written what he said. One final note, he played for Tech. He was a great player at Texas Tech. He tried to be a college coach, did not work out very well. But Cliff Kingsbury reinvented his career when he went to Washington in 2024 with Jaden Daniels. He is now the assistant head coach under Sean McVay with the LA Rams. I knew he was going to the Rams. Is that something you had?
It's fine now.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's off the radar. But go ahead.
It.
I mean, go ahead.
No, well, he's the assistant head coach with the Rams. I need to start getting your list so I don't pop that, especially right before you're sick. All right, we take a break. We'll come back with Craig Smoak and Off the Radar. John McClain around the corner at 5. We'll have the quizzes and poll results. This is 365 Sports.
Smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery for my G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. And just a couple stories to get to here before we get to John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. But looking at Off the Radar, got the NFL Combine going on, got World Baseball Classic that'll be starting up soon, but kind of a quieter period post-Olympics and Super Bowl, although it's about to get very, very noisy. And later on this year, more events being announced and mentioned, including a pretty massive one for, I guess various crowds could be interested in the news that came out yesterday that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are going to fight in September live on Netflix. Pacquiao Mayweather 2. If there was ever a sign that basically Netflix and any of these I guess, kind of dream matches. I don't know that too many people dreamed about this being a rematch. I think with this one there is. I'm thinking more probably a Paul brother type of a fight. But all these kind of fantasy fights are occurring now at a rapid clip. We just had Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano last week. That's announced as that's going to be on Netflix. That's going to be a massive deal, a fight that you wish would have happened like 10, 12 years ago, but now it's at least going to happen before it's too late to have it happen. We've had the Paul brothers do their various boxing exhibitions as well. And so there's been a lot of that kind of going on in the ecosystem. And now Netflix, their next big event is, Pacquiao Mayweather 2 or Mayweather Pacquiao 2. I guess put the money man there in the front there. But Money Mayweather, 50-0 when we last saw him, although he's now had some exhibition matches, more of those. Like, I guess the term I'm using is these money grab fights.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot of money grab fights because Zuffa boxing is getting off to its start, but it's a very slow start. They don't have a lot of big-name guys. They're trying to kind of upend the boxing world, but it's going to take them some time to do so to try to get to where they are with the UFC. And they just signed a big fighter to a 8-digit deal for like one fight. This guy from England, I believe, they've signed him to a deal. So they're trying to add some more star power, but I think it's going to take some time because there's really not a ton of well-known stars in boxing, hence why the big boxing matches we've had deliver us on the biggest stages with the biggest money involved has been basically retired Floyd Mayweather, basically in and out exhibition fighting Manny Pacquiao, social media stars.
Jake Paul,
Mike Tyson, he's a social media star. Mike Tyson at like 60-plus years old and having nearly died the year prior to that. Like, these are the people that are Ronda Rousey, 10 years removed from her last UFC fight. Maybe not quite 10, but somewhere in that vicinity. Gina Carano hadn't fought in a really long time. But guess what? People seem to like it. It seems to work, and that's why they keep going to that well. And now they're going to the Pacquiao-Mayweather well on Netflix in September, as I mentioned. Mayweather 50-0, 27 KOs. Pacquiao, I almost said Pac-Man, 62, 8-3, 39 KOs. They will meet Saturday, September the 19th. Live on Netflix from the Sphere in Las Vegas, the first boxing match ever held at the Sphere, which has only been open now for 2 or 3 years. One of the first big events there was Dana White and the UFC, when that was being built up, he made it a point that they were going to have the first big event there, and it was going to be the greatest thing ever, and all this and that. And they had an event there, and I couldn't tell you the first freaking thing about it because my fandom of UFC, I think I'm like most people where it's far more casual than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago when they actually had people that made me want to buy pay-per-views. And that's been a while, although there's still some interesting fights and fighters. It's just not pulling me in that way. So I didn't see much of that Sphere card by the time it rolled around. It looked really cool. I've seen concerts that look like they're amazing. I think various other things have done entertainment shows there. So this will be the first boxing match. This is a rematch from May of 2015. So 10-plus years later, these two are fighting for the second time. It was the highest-grossing fight in boxing history. It broke all of the pay-per-view and live gate records. And Mayweather, earning the unanimous decision, gave him the WBA, WBC, and WBO welterweight championships with that victory over Pacquiao, although there was a lot of talk and controversy and two very proud fan bases, the Mayweather fans and the Pacquiao fans. Pacquiao literally with a country behind him. But, yeah, this is going to take place later on this year, so 12 years after their first meeting, the long-awaited, literally, rematch, I guess, for Mayweather and Pacquiao. And I haven't seen the money involved. I can only imagine it is just probably for Mayweather, definitely in the 9 figures. I would think for Pacquiao, probably somewhere around there as well. I know for Floyd it has to be. Why else would he do it with as much money as he has? But this is going to be taking place on Netflix Live. So if you've got it like most people do, then no worries. And it won't break the pay-per-view record because pay-per-view basically doesn't exist anymore. It does for some. Like there's this wrestling company, AEW. They still do pay-per-views. They still do very, very well. But Dana White and UFC are under that TKO umbrella along with WWE. And they have shifted from pay-per-view to basically they're streaming their big events. And so for WWE now, it was Peacock. That was relatively cheap and a hell of a deal for all their events. Now it's on ESPN Unlimited, and it's far more expensive than it was previously. And UFC is now they've shifted from pay-per-view to they went to Paramount, and they're getting that all launched and going, and they're in the early stages of that. And so yeah, it just seems like pay-per-view is a dying breed, and everybody's shifting over to the big Netflix fights. And this is the latest announcement, short on the heels of Carano and Rousey.
I hate these fights, and this is not get off my lawn. I remember in the 70s, Muhammad Ali had those great fights with Frazier and Foreman and Norton. Eventually, just wore down. He fought a Japanese wrestler, Antonio Inoki. And it was like a big deal, but. And that was like once, and nothing ever happened again for a long, long time. The reason, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong if you're in the chat or elsewhere, the reason these fights are available is because, yes, there's a ton of money, people want to watch them, but it's also because the depth of boxing in so many of these weight classes suck. That doesn't mean they can't whip my ass or your ass or a lot of others, but there's just not enough stars to get to a point where they're going to fight once or twice and be a big deal.
No, that's exactly what it is to me. And the boxing hardcore will tell you, just like the hardcore of any fan base, like the moment somebody who doesn't follow it minute by minute, event by event, oh, well, you're an outsider and you're a casual, right? You're a casual. That can be a term that's not really negative, but I often see it used as a negative term because you don't just like blood, sweat, and tears over every little monotonous thing having to do with the sport, because people have to live lives and you don't want to be obsessed with everything. So I don't think being a casual is always all that bad. But yeah, the casual take for the hardcores would be, oh, there's not enough star power. Well, you don't know about this guy and that guy and this guy. Drawing power. There's not a lot of drawing power, and that is not debatable. It is not debatable. Zuffa Boxing just signed Connor Ben was the guy I was trying to think of, that Zuffa Boxing just signed to apparently like one fight, $15 million, which has got other fighters kind of grumbling because Dana White's pretty notoriously cheap when it comes to paying his fighters by the money they make standards. And that's been a hot debate for quite a while now. Now, if you're Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey at their peak, you're not complaining about it. But if you're everybody else who's not those folks, you feel like you're probably getting gypped a little bit here and there a little bit. So that's nothing new, but yeah, I think the star power is severely lacking. I think it has been in boxing for quite a while. Mayweather and Pacquiao kind of kept it above. And then there was other guys like Anthony Joshua when he was at his best. And last we saw him, he's doing the freak show fight now. And there's been other guys along the way. But yeah, if you're not a hardcore boxing fan, you see it and it's just another commercial for some fight with some guys that don't pull you in and make you care at all. But you know what? Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, you're like, you know what? 10 years ago, I wanted to see that fight. Now I've watched him go off to WWE and to Hollywood and to wherever else. Like, I wanted to see that 10 years ago. It's not the same, but I still kind of want to see that now. And then Mayweather-Pacquiao, people were clamoring for a rematch.
Yep.
12 years later, there's still going to be a bunch of people that just out of pure curiosity are going to go, and it's on Netflix for free, basically. I've already got it, so it's not like it's taking any more money out. Yeah, I'll go watch that, and they'll have a massive audience.
It's the same thing UFC with, what's his name, Conor McGregor coming back, even though he's a shell of himself and has been beaten up the last few times, and he'll get a bunch of million and against somebody. I wish there was enough good depth of really talented fighters or at UFC that these fights would just like be a blip on the radar. But we've been in a society for a long, long time. It seemed like it's almost like Hollywood is such a big deal, and this is kind of that same thing.
I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, Hollywood's been a big deal for a really long time. It's been ingrained in the culture of America for a really long time. So I don't know quite what you mean by like how's Hollywood you mean?
I maybe I won't be able to say and word this right, that people look at Hollywood stars. I mean, they would look at them 50 years ago, but it's almost like they're like above life characters. And they're looked at differently, and they say things they want to say because they can, just like you and I can. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe if somebody could help me with it. It just seemed like we have become so enamored with stars.
Okay, well, I got to push back on that because do you go watch the Brad Pitt movie or do you watch the completely unknown guy who's
I
doing
don't
the same
go watch
movie?
many movies at all, but I do
just
watch
play
them on
along,
Netflix.
please.
Yeah,
Yes,
No,
of
I get
course.
it. I get it.
Yeah, stars draw eyeballs. That's nothing new. That's nothing controversial. That's just fact.
But there's young stars, too, that eventually start to do their own movies and become stars. Brad Pitt wasn't a star when he was 18 years old.
No, but he worked his way up and became that way and earned that way. And there's not anybody that's seemingly doing that because it's a very wide pool in the UFC right now where, hey, if you just want to watch fights and the science of it and the skill set, man, this is the greatest time period you've ever seen. If you want to watch people that people actually are made to care about because they're stars and because they draw eyeballs and they have something about them, whether it's their style or their personality that pulls people in, there's not a lot of that going on right now. There's a lot of people trying to be that. There's people trying to be controversial just for the sake of getting people
clicks
riled
and
up.
views.
Yeah, and so you've seen that just as recently as this past weekend in the UFC with Sean Strickland. The dude's out there just saying all sorts of stuff and playing to a very specific crowd, but riling people up everywhere else. And I guess, are those good eyeballs or bad eyeballs? I actually don't think they're really good eyeballs, but I'll be proven wrong if he goes and sells 1 billion pay-per-views the next time around. So I don't know that he believes half of what he says or anybody else that kind of goes that Conor McGregor showmanship route. But it worked for Conor McGregor, and they sure as hell could use more people that get people to give it, you know what, because a lot of people who aren't religiously following these things, they need Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao or Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua to give a damn about a boxing match, because otherwise they don't care about the random Armenian fighter versus the random Mexican fighter who are both like 22-0. That's great, but you don't know anything about it.
Those guys got to beat somebody big before anyone.
It's not going to sell pay-per-views except for the hardcore. But guess what will sell pay-per-views if it was still on pay-per-view? Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao, because even if it's 12 years too late, it's still two massive stars with massive fan bases on a massive platform. And I think the morbid curiosity of just like, what does this look like? But 12 years later, it's same thing with Rousey Carano. Like, it's probably not going to be a great fight, but maybe it will be. If anything, I'll be entertained by these people who are interesting to me. But, I do think that there is a problem for boxing and the UFC right now of a severe lack of major star power, and that's why you're not seeing the big current UFC guys on Netflix as the main events. You're seeing the guys who were the big deals 10 years ago. So there you go. We've It's an interesting announcement, and I'll tell you, I'll watch this. I'll watch Carano and Rousey.
I'll watch those. I'll watch them.
I mean, just out of pure curiosity, I'll watch it. So I'm a sucker. Whatever they're doing is working, even though, you'd rather it be like some 27-year-old star that's the next great American boxer. No, we're going to watch the guy who was like 10 years ago.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Craig. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, NFL Combine Week, and much more, including a tweet that I saw he would do. I think it's involving some of the chatter in Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud. This is 365 Sports.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
Yes, it is. 365 Sports off the Brazos River, off of MLK and Elm. Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Paul Catalina back with us tomorrow. And Hall of Famer John McClain joins us on 365 Sports. And John, thank you very much for your time. I saw this tweet. I don't know exactly what it was in reference to, but I think it had to do with people saying that the Texans were going to trade C.J. Stroud or something. It said, I bet on trading a quarterback, I'll walk down Kirby Drive, which if people don't know, that's near the Astrodome and also where they play now, during rush hour traffic naked. Explain yourself, sir.
Last week, guys, there was national media speculation that the Texans would consider trading C.J. Stroud. One of them was Ryan Fitzpatrick, talked about Davis Mills being promoted, which was preposterous. The next one was Todd McShay talking about it, and it generated incredible interest and intrigue and clicks, because that's what people like to do to get clicks. So I shot it down immediately, said, it ain't happening. They ain't going with Mills, and they ain't trading Stroud. So I noticed the next morning it had over 87,000 clicks. And I usually don't even look retweets, So I'm thinking, well, what could I do that might generate some more? So I put that tweet out there. I'd walk down Kirby Drive naked in rush hour traffic if he got traded, because I knew he wouldn't get traded. Last time I looked, it had almost 500,000 retweets.
Wow.
And it got me a lot of attention for 2014 when I tweeted. I actually said on the NFL Network, if they didn't draft a quarterback, I'd eat the Chronicle Sports section, and I had to do that. And but anyway, I knew they were going to trade him today. Nick Casario at the combine called it moronic. Any kind of speculation that Stroud would be traded, and pointed out he isn't going anywhere, which means I don't have to get a prescription for Ozempic, and get a personal trainer to work out 24/7 for about 6 months.
John, good to see you, by the way. Great to see you. Been a long time. Just kind of what is the feel? I mean, granted, they're not going to trade him like you said, but just how would you kind of describe the frustration? Is that the right word? Or just the sort of feel with C.J. Stroud and how things ended there at the end of the year?
Well, it was interesting, Craig, because first of all, he didn't lose a fumble all season, and he lost 2 right off the bat in Pittsburgh. Defense helped him win 30-6, but he still made a few big plays. And then in New England, he had the worst game of his career. He couldn't have played any worse if he tried. He was just eviscerated here. And criticism of Stroud has been few and far between since he got here and was so good in 23. So then there was all this talk, they need to get rid of him, don't extend him. And I don't know that they will extend him. They'll extend Will Anderson Jr. because he had a fabulous season. If I was them, I'd wait another year just to make sure if they get to the playoffs next year, he's going to play better. Now, he played better in the playoffs last year when they went to Kansas City, lost by 8 in the divisional round, and he played pretty well. So nobody foresaw anything like that coming. He owned up to it. He made his speech this week when he talked about what he'd been through and how he relied on his faith to get through it. So people here, until he gets in the playoffs and plays well, they're going to hold their breath.
Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 pick, the Raiders, no question. He's not going to throw at the combine. We've seen other players that don't do that. Is that becoming more prevalent or about the same as it's always been?
It's about the same as it's always been. It'd be stupid for Mendoza to throw anywhere. He knows he's going to be the number 1 pick. Now, he'll not throw at the combine. He'll be there. He'll blow everybody away with his personality when he does his interviews, and every team can talk to players for 15 minutes up to 60. And then you go their pro days. Then you can have private workouts with them. You can take them to lunch and dinner, and he's unquestioned the number 1 guy. Now, Ty Simpson, who will be the 2nd quarterback drafted, maybe in the 1st round, maybe not. It behooves him to throw everywhere, to throw at the combine, his pro day, private workouts, because he's got a chance to go anywhere from the 2nd round to the middle of the 1st.
John, it's pretty undeniable that the Raiders are going to take Mendoza. And I don't know how to work out on the field, but I've heard him now like 15 different interviews, all sorts of different settings, and he's a little bit nerdy. He's funny. He's just, man, it's just impossible not to like this guy. And it seems like maybe the Raiders have finally like stumbled into a guy that can actually kind of keep the ship afloat and moving in the right direction for a while.
Well, that's a good way to put it. His personality is infectious. Every time I hear him, I'm impressed. And the key is they got to put good people around him. They've got tight ends. They got a running back. They need offensive line first and foremost. They have 1 good offensive lineman. They need to use free agency, and they got the most money and the draft to help build around him like the Bears did for Caleb Williams. And then you worry about the defense. And so they've got a chance to be really improved, but they do play in a very tough division against 3 terrific head coaches.
John, you've been to numerous combines, like probably dozens of them. What was the favorite part for you? What was the key ingredient as a beat writer, columnist covering the Oilers, Texans, or whoever, and now just the NFL in general?
BSing with people, whether it was people with teams that you know or media people you know. But that was the best thing, because when I was young, I'd go to dinner, then I'd go to the hotel bars and have a beer here, a beer there, because you don't drive, you walk everywhere. and you get to talk to people informally. And then it got to be a little more formal, but I still like doing that. I just didn't stay out as late because I can't, but mainly hanging out with all the media people and talking to coaches, personnel people, scouts. It was, excuse me, that was a blast. And I went to about 45, and I'll say this, first one I went to, there was like 5 writers there. Now, and no other media. Now I think there's a couple of thousand.
Yeah, it's crazy. Is there anything you're looking to hear out of this week? Like whether it be, maybe it's the Kyler Murray discussion and the reporting that's going on. Is it more about like those types of things, or is there somebody specifically draft-wise that you're curious to hear what their 40 time is? Like, does anything at the Combine this week really matter to you of interest?
One of the things I like to do is watch the interviews and listen to the interviews and see how people talk. I also love to see the 40. We all have a need for speed, but the fastest player doesn't translate into success. You know, the fastest Xavier Worthy, and he's done a little bit with the Chiefs in 2 years, but not much for being a first-round pick who was the fastest player at the Combine. That strongest players never pan out, but it's fun to watch them bench press, see how much they can do. I remember one guy, he was Samoan. He came in, he got on the bench press in a straw cowboy hat, and he didn't take it off. And then he had the most bench presses, and he's a really good interview. And he got drafted, but he didn't do squat. And but that's the part. Gary Kubiak, when he was head coach, he said he could get all the workouts on tape, but what he wanted to do is sit across from a kid, ask him questions, and get a feel for his answers. That was what he liked to do the most at the Combine.
So was it Mike Mamula who was the Combine freak?
Mike Mamula,
yeah,
looked like Tarzan, hit like Jane.
Yeah. And Philadelphia, I believe, drafted him. Is that right?
Philadelphia drafted him 7th overall, the ultimate workout warrior. One time in 2006, I'm in the media room, and I hear everybody talking about some great workout a guy had, and the Texans had the first pick. His name's Mario Williams. And I'm like, wow, I never heard of Mario Williams. And I looked him up, defensive end, 6'6", 290 from North Carolina State, and he did everything great. And then again, and they ended up drafting him in 2011. There was a big guy from Wisconsin, same thing.
No.
6'5", weighed about 285, did everything great. And they drafted J.J. Watt, 11th overall in 2011. So things like that. They didn't even go to Mario Williams' pro day, but they still drafted him. He turned out to be a good player who left to go to Buffalo in free agency. But things like that, hearing these guys all of a sudden like, whoa, now we have more information than we used to because of the NFL Network showing everything. That took the Combine to a new level.
John, what happens with Kyler Murray next? I mean, I don't want to always ask you about like the fresh rumors. So this is something that seems like it's been building up for the last 24 hours, especially as the Combine starts to get underway. Is he playing in Arizona? Is he playing in Minnesota? Is he playing in Miami? Like, what do you think the future holds there?
I think nobody knows jack squat. They got a new coach, just like a new coach in Miami. You know, I think if I'm Bobby Slowick and C.J. Stroud had his best season under me, I want to keep Tua Tagovailoa, not get rid of him and have to decide new quarterback, Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson, unless you're tanking because you want to get a high number 1 pick next year, which should be a great quarterback draft. As far as Murray, they kept him out so he didn't get hurt, and they would have had to pay fully guaranteed his money. I'm guessing he's gone, but on the other hand, Mike LaFleur, the new coach, he may say, hey, I want to see what I can do with this kid. And they're both going to take humongous cap hits if they get rid of those players.
By the way, Craig, you asked me yesterday. We had Josh Cameron on an interview.
Speaking of great interviews, he'll do well at the Combine with that, John, for sure.
If he can run like anything semblance of a 40 in a pretty good time, I look forward to seeing what happens. But he didn't slip. But the Big 12 has had that everyone join them at Frisco Combine or whatever you want to call Pro Day. They're not doing that this year. They're going to go back to the respective campuses. I just got that confirmed.
First of all, Michael Trigg is Baylor's only highly rated player. He could go in the 2nd or 3rd round. You know, people look at the highlight reels they're gonna start paying attention to all the drop passes too that were right in his hands. But he should be the top Baylor player drafted, and maybe 2 or 3 will get drafted somewhere. I'd take Cameron over Trigg any day of the week.
Yeah, he was great, John. I guess who else is there?
Sawyer.
Sawyer Robertson. I haven't heard a lot about him. Haven't heard much after a lot of talk during the early part of the season. And then the defensive lineman who's always hurt, Jackie Marshall. Marshall, the other two.
Sawyer's stock has gone down. He had a chance to go to the Senior Bowl and practices, impress people. He didn't. None of the quarterbacks did. He'll get a pro day. He'll get some private workouts. He will get drafted. Should be after Trigg. I'm not sure if Cameron will get drafted. Depends on what he does in his shorts and T-shirts. And I hope he does, because I like Cameron a lot. And I know y'all do too. I think all Baylor fans do. And when they look at tape of Sawyer Robertson during that winning streak at the end of his junior year, and then they look at some of the highlights this year, they're going to see a guy that's got outstanding size, smart, good arm, and they'll be asking him a lot, why didn't you run more?
Yep.
Like you did before you got hurt, your ankle injury when you were a junior.
Yeah, it changed. There's no question it changed mid-year last year, and it just seemed like he never took off, especially the frustration when they opened up with Auburn. And, of course, Jackson Arnold was running, which he could because there was nobody to stop him so much, and you wonder if Sawyer could have taken off just a few times. Asked him that mid-season, and he said to me that nobody told him not to run. So that was kind of an interesting twist to the year. Trent Williams, is his clock ticking in San Francisco?
At his age, he better redo his deal and get it done so he can stay there, because there's not going to be a big market for an offensive tackle who is 38 years old with a cap hit of like $39 million.
It's incredible he's still playing all these years later, though, John.
He's played well. Remember, he sat out 1 year with Washington because he was mad at their doctors.
Right.
And I thought after he sat out, he'd never be the same. He's been even better. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Hey, you could use this. You may already know this, but when he was a young kid at Longview High School, his brother, they'd go lift weights in the morning at Longview, but the Lobo Den is what they called it. It was in the back of the gym and underneath the football stadium bleachers. And he would sleep in the car. He was lazy as hell. And John King and them finally got players to go out and get him and basically shamed him to come work out. And look who he's turned out to be as a Hall of Fame offensive lineman.
That's a great story.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Great to see you,
Thank you, guys. Take 'em Bears.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist. And Brandon, great to get that hooked up. He looks great to have him on with us on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it's just nice to see John. Been a little while since we crossed paths with him. I don't know. Did y'all see him at the Super Bowl?
No, he didn't go.
Okay.
He doesn't travel nearly as much anymore now.
But I do have some other news. I was hoping to get to this and off the radar, but I didn't see it in time and took up all the time talking about Mayweather, Pacquiao, and just the whole money fight, exhibition, freak show, celebrity crossover type events that now sort of dominate combat sports as far as the big audiences go. But speaking of big audiences, gold medal game, the ratings are in. And the gold medal game between Canada and the U.S., I'm assuming this is the men, averaged 27.6 million viewers on NBC. The gold medal game between Canada and U.S. 2010 Vancouver's averaged 27. Okay, maybe this is old. I thought this was a new, that's my fault. I saw that in passing. I thought that was the rating for the hockey game, but now I'm reading it. Okay, no, here we go. Yeah, 26 million viewers on NBC was what the total was, 26 to see the golden goal, most watched. How specific do we want to get with how we PR this thing? The most watched pre-9 a.m. Eastern sporting event on record in the United States. I mean, oh my God, It's the most watched pre-9 a.m. Eastern time. That's oddly specific, but okay.
Here's a note, and you're right, it gets mixed up. In Vancouver in 2010, it was 27.6 million. This according to Sportico. This past Sunday, was just under 21 million.
So you're saying now it's under 21? I just said it was 26.
Yeah. No, I'm just telling you that's the 20.7 million. It seems like it's the one that's being listed most of the time. Well, then you're right. You said NBC Peacock peaked. It peaked at 26 million.
Okay, that's what
but the
it was
rating
then,
overall was just under 21
Yeah,
million.
because there's all these PR arms that come out and they've got the graphic and it says 26 million, like this big, and then now I look under.
Yeah, it's peaked.
Peak U.S. viewers.
And then here, the match or the game started like at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that was the point of what I was trying to get to there, was that was the Richard Deitch tweet. Deitch tweet. And so, yeah, 2010 was what he was referring to. I was getting them mixed up. But 2010 Vancouver Games, Canada-U.S. gold medal averaged 27.6. It was on in the mid-afternoon time slot. So, yeah, it didn't reach that except for getting somewhat close at its peak level. So, anyways, 20-plus million people watched that gold medal game. And there are people who are, I guess they're repeating the NBC statement. That's why it's so oddly specific of the most viewers ever for a pre-9 a.m. Eastern sporting event. Like, that's goofy, right? Like, I get that's what you have to put out there to advertisers, but that's like pre-9 a.m. Eastern sporting event. It's just funny to me.
And they've changed the rating service, and it seems like everybody's higher, a tick up or more than it was. That there's something changed where you're getting more and more viewers, at least with these numbers.
Well, you did not pay attention to a segment a few weeks ago when we talked about this because, yeah, we talked about how the data changed, but it's also already changed since then as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
There were, like, some corrections the other way. So there were – I know this because of and I hate ratings talk when it comes to pro wrestling because it's like the worst part of the fandom of that piece of entertainment is the fans from different companies fighting over ratings. I just find it to be – just the worst. I hate that part of it. But nevertheless, so I know far more about TV ratings because of that and then covering sports as well. Although with sports, it's not so much of the SEC fan fighting with the Big Ten fan, although we've now entered that. We've now seen that growing and growing the last few years, especially with realignment of, well, this league averages this many and this. Yeah. And so that's now crept in, and I hate that, but I get why. Anyways, yeah, they had the big adjustment, and part of it was counting like the digital and out of home viewing because there's a lot of people at sports bars that are watching the Super Bowl. How do you account for them? And we know they don't want to not account for them because why would you want less people watching in your total tally? So how can we factor in truly everybody? And so they did it, and like it was weird how some events went way up and then some events went way down. And then those events obviously had a major issue because now they're going, well, this new system sucks. Because now we were getting 1.5 million every week, and now we're not even getting 1 million. What the hell? And now our advertisers are pissed at us. So then whatever politicking went on or corrections went on, they've adjusted it again. And I don't know too much about the details of that other than it brought the numbers back up a little bit.
I have never trusted him.
I mean, I don't know why you would. It's so inexact.
It's scientifically formula based on, but it's still
better than Nielsen.
Really, it's probably better than when we get elections, but it's still very, very sometimes based on trends rather than actually. Yes, I watched the game.
I mean, I don't know. I think they can have a much clearer picture of who's actually watching. It just sounds like they're kind of all over the place with deciding what to use, and I'm sure the people lobbying that are hurt by their changes are part of the reason why they're constantly fluctuating, trying to figure out how to make everybody happy. But, yeah, there was another correction, and maybe there will be another one. But either way, point being the hockey game got 20-plus million viewers. That we can say, and that's a pretty nice number, although it was not the end-all, be-all number of, like, the greatest hockey viewed game of all time. Still a very healthy number. A lot of people watching the U.S. win a gold medal in hockey, so that's pretty cool.
All right, we have, here we go. Trivia. In November 2025, Panthers running back Rico Dowdle was penalized for a touchdown celebration, mimicking a famous Key and Peele sketch. How many pumps did the refs claim he did to earn the flag?
2.
All right, I'm going to just go with you. I don't remember this. There you go.
Despite the legendary Hingle McCringleberry rule stating that 3 pumps is a penalty, I watched Key and Peele. The refs flagged Dowdle after only 2 pumps. The call was so controversial that Keegan-Michael Key himself took to social media to claim Dowdle was robbed of a legal celebration. So, yeah, I remember seeing this skit back in the day, and I remember seeing all of the talk about of Dowdle when he was doing that. So it was a nice nod, but, yeah, the officials didn't like it so much. And Yeah, that's got that right. That's cool. But yeah, 2 Pump.
Key and Peele sounds like it could be a liquor store. All right. Which
Or
Texas
an insanely successful comedy sketch show.
that too. Which Texas school's baseball field 1928 to 1974 featured a treacherous 30-foot limestone cliff in left center field nicknamed Billy Goat Hill?
So you don't know this, obviously. I was hoping you would. Okay, we didn't even get a chance. I'm
no,
gonna guess
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas is the answer.
There we go.
UT Austin played at Clark Field, where the limestone cliff was famously in play. Outfielders had to scramble up a narrow dirt path to retrieve balls, leading to some of the most bizarre plays in college baseball history before the team moved to Dishwalk in 1975.
Yeah, that's a nice job, Brandon, giving us the answer, so we got it right.
Yeah, thanks for the assist there. But yeah, I didn't know this. This is pulled from the ethers as far as trivia goes.
I watched a little college baseball in the 70s, but I never went to. I covered games at Dishwalk, but after that. All right, now we have the poll results. Will you be tuning in to watch the Banana Ball, the Savannah Bananas, on ESPN this year?
No,
I won't be either. One day visiting Daniel and Jennifer in Richardson, there was a game on that afternoon, and it happened to be on, and we were doing something, and we didn't really pay attention, and all of a sudden it was there, and the crowd was packed. I don't know, it was a massive, massive crowd, and it caught my attention for 5 minutes until I started watching them play.
Yeah, I've seen like probably everybody, at least clips here and there, and I know that they have the creators of it have done an incredible job of building that company up from scratch and turning it into like this phenomenon where they're selling out college football stadiums. They're selling out Kyle Field and freaking places like that, and they've sold out like all of the Major League Baseball stadiums, and it's incredibly popular. But I'm not a parent and I'm not a child, and I think those are two of the starting points to see where a lot of the fandom comes from. And so it never got me in those two ways. And so I kind of looked at it a little bit and I go, this is pro wrestling and baseball sort of mixed together. And I like pro wrestling and I like baseball, but I don't like pro wrestling baseball. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that showmanship of it, not the actual wrestling. It's got that kind of flavor, but it's not for me in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, I've tried. I think it's obviously a great thing for a lot of people who love it, but it's not my thing.
They are making hand over fist. Okay, last poll question. Which combine metric do you trust the most to predict NFL success? The 40-yard dash is the one that gets all the attention. It can move you from the second round into the first, from the first into the second, whatever. But the position work to me is what I would look at.
Yeah, I would say position work. I think the 40 could be important in sort of separating a guy, but I don't think it's a good predictor of NFL success. Otherwise, there's some really fast guys who faded very quickly that it would have been more of a career for them. So yeah, I think, and I don't know from a trainer brain of the 10-yard split or the 3-cone agility bend how that might factor in and maybe be the right answer. A lot of people putting that 22% for 3-cone agility bend. So like some people that know what they're talking about voting for that. But I would think on-field position work would be the deciding factor of these four. But again, I'm not a professional, so
40 is the one that gets all of the attention, whether you're a big dude or you're someone that is a skilled position player that you all of a sudden light up like Xavier Worthy did, as we mentioned, and John McClain also reiterated too. All right, Brandon Rowe, thank you very much. Andrew Valade, Garrett Ross, and also everybody that watches us, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, 365 Sports. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Paul's back tomorrow, and we will hopefully see you then. Hit the like and subscribe button or both, or subscribe and tell somebody else about us. Good night, 365 Sports.